How many other hidden ecosystems like this exist beneath Antarctica's ice? What do they reveal about life in extreme conditions, both on Earth and potentially elsewhere in the universe? And how much remains concealed beneath a continent that even in the 21st century guards its secrets with frozen, unyielding resolve? The story of Blood Falls is not one of answers, but of enduring mystery, an invitation to continue exploring, observing, and wondering at the hidden life that thrives where few have ever ventured. From the crimson streams of Blood Falls, we turn our attention not to the frozen continent itself, but to an artifact that hints at Antarctica in a way that is as enigmatic as it is compelling. The Piri Reis map, a world map drawn in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and seagrapher Piri Reis, is remarkable not merely for its age but for the startling detail it displays. Coastlines that appear to depict a southern continent long before it was officially discovered. Among the more puzzling features is a landmass at the bottom of the map, one that some researchers have suggested resembles the coastline of Antarctica, and notably it appears ice-free. The map itself was compiled from a collection of older sources, including maps from explorers who had traversed the known world centuries earlier. Piri Reis annotated the map with meticulous notes citing Portuguese and Spanish sources, as well as maps of the ancients that had been passed down through generations. At the time, the southern continent Terra Auralis Incognita was largely speculative, assumed to exist to balance the land masses of the northern hemisphere. Yet, the depiction on Piri Reis' map is surprisingly precise in terms of longitude and contour, showing bays, peninsulas, and mountain ranges that some argue correspond to what we know today as Antarctica's Queen Ma Land and the surrounding coasts. Mainstream historians often suggest that the map's southern landmass could be a misinterpretation or extrapolation of South America or other southern islands known to sailors of the early 16th century. They argue that inaccuracies in early seagraphy, combined with the imaginative reconstructions of uncharted territories, could explain the apparent resemblance to Antarctica. Yet for centuries, the map has continued to attract attention because of the specificity and apparent accuracy of its southern depiction, a region that would not be officially explored until the 19th century, when the continent's ice sheets and glaciers became documented by modern explorers. One of the most provocative elements of the map is the suggestion that it portrays Antarctica as ice-free. If this is intentional and not simply a cartographic error, it raises profound questions. Could the sources Piri Reis used have been derived from knowledge dating back thousands of years to a time when Antarctica was indeed free of ice? Geological studies indicate that the last period during which parts of the Antarctic coastline were ice-free extended as far back as 6,000 years ago in the early Holocene, and much further if we consider the Plian Epic. Could information about these ancient landscapes have been transmitted through generations, preserved in the form of maps and maritime lore? Some researchers speculate that Piri Reis's sources may have included even older records, possibly from civilizations lost to time. Ancient Egyptian and Phoenician sailors are known to have explored the seas extensively, and fragments of their maritime knowledge could have been incorporated into maps preserved over centuries. While this theory is highly speculative, it emphasizes the enigmatic nature of the map, a document that combines documented geography, oral tradition, and perhaps fragments of a more ancient understanding of the world. How otherwise could a 16th century map reflect coastal contours that would only become visible under ice thousands of years later? The accuracy of the map's depiction of southern latitudes has also drawn attention from seagraphers and geologists. When researchers overlay the map on modern satellite imagery, certain features align surprisingly well with parts of the Antarctic coastline now hidden beneath kilometres of ice. Bays, peninsulas, and even what appears to be mountain ranges bear resemblance to areas mapped in detail only in the late 20th century. The ice-free hypothesis is particularly intriguing because it suggests that the map makers were aware of a landscape inaccessible to them, or at least that their sources were. Could this be a record of an ancient ice-free Antarctica, a fleeting glimpse of the continent as it existed long before human memory or written history? Of course, not all aspects of the map are easily explained, and not all researchers agree on its implications. Some argue that the resemblance to Antarctica is coincidental, a product of imaginative reconstruction by Piri Reis and his contemporaries. Others propose that errors in scaling and projection may give the illusion of ice-free coastlines where none existed. Yet these counter-arguments do little to diminish the sense of wonder the map inspires. Even as a symbolic or composite representation, the Piri Reis map demonstrates a level of geographical knowledge that seems, at least in part, to exceed what conventional history credits to explorers of that era. What makes the map especially compelling in the context of Antarctic mysteries is its persistence in challenging our assumptions. It forces us to ask questions that bridge history, geology, and exploration. Could ancient civilizations have left records of a world that has long since disappeared beneath ice? Might fragments of this knowledge have survived in obscure manuscripts, maritime charts, or oral traditions passed down through millennia? And what does it mean that a map drawn over 500 years ago could, intentionally or not, hint at landscapes only revealed through modern scientific exploration? The Piri Reis map is more than a historical artifact. It is a window into a dialogue between the known and the unknown, between recorded knowledge and the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the surface. As we trace its contours, we are reminded that Antarctica itself is not merely a frozen expanse, but a repository of enigmas, geological, biological, and historical, waiting for the curious to uncover. Every ice-free coastline, every unexplored valley, every anomaly in the magnetic field or subglacial lake resonates with questions that refuse easy answers. As we ponder the map's implications, we are left with an enduring sense of awe. It is a reminder that Antarctica, though charted on modern maps and studied through satellite imagery, still contains secrets, layers of history and geography that challenge our understanding of the past and the capabilities of civilizations long gone. Could the map be a trace of a lost memory preserved through generations? Or is it an artifact of imagination, ingenuity, and incomplete knowledge? The answers remain elusive, leaving us to wonder what other mysteries the frozen continent holds, both beneath its ice and within the stories that humanity has carried across time. As we move from ancient maps to the frozen expanse itself, Antarctica once again reveals a mystery that challenges both our imagination and our understanding of the universe. Deep within the continent's ice sheets, scientists have detected particles that do not seem to belong to this world. Microscopic grains whose origins remain unexplained, hinting at cosmic journeys that ended in the most remote corners of our planet. The discovery has raised questions not only about Earth's history, but about the broader universe and the invisible connections that bind our planet to the cosmos. The particles in question were first identified through careful analysis of ice cores extracted from depths exceeding several kilometers. These cores, cylindrical slices of ice that preserve millennia of climate history, are more than frozen water. They are time capsules holding traces of the atmosphere, dust, and even microscopic matter from ages long past. It was during such analyses that researchers noticed anomalies, particles with unusual chemical compositions and isotopic ratios that did not correspond to any known terrestrial source. Some were tiny metallic grains, others contained compounds, rarely if ever found on Earth mainstream. Science suggests that some extraterrestrial material naturally falls to Earth in the form of micrometeorites or cosmic dust carried through the atmosphere over millions of years. Antarctica, with its pristine ice and minimal human contamination, is an ideal repository for such materials. Yet the particles discovered in these cores are unlike ordinary cosmic dust. Their concentrations, distributions, and chemical signatures defy straightforward explanation, leading some scientists to consider alternative possibilities. Could they represent fragments of asteroids, comets, or even more exotic cosmic phenomena? Or might they be remnants of processes that occurred in the distant reaches of the solar system beyond the orbit of Neptune? Some of the particles are rich in elements such as iridium and osmium, metals that are extremely rare on Earth's surface but relatively abundant in certain types of meteorite. Others display isotopic ratios that suggest exposure to cosmic rays over millions of years, or even chemical interactions that are difficult to replicate in terrestrial laboratories. The patterns observed in the ice cores are perplexing. These particles appear at depths corresponding to periods of climatic stability, as well as times of massive glacial shifts. Their presence seems to transcend local geological events, hinting at influences far larger and more ancient than anything humans have observed. Researchers have speculated on numerous possible origins. One idea is that these alien particles arrived during cataclysmic impacts in Earth's past, remnants of collisions that shaped the planet's surface and influenced mass extinctions. Could some of these grains be survivors of events that occurred millions of years ago, buried under layers of snow and ice until discovered in the modern era? Others have proposed that some particles may have originated from interstellar space, carried on streams of cosmic dust from distant stars, or even from supernova explosions, making their way across light years to settle in Antarctica's frozen deserts. Yet there are elements of the discovery that resist categorization. Certain particles appear to exhibit microstructures and chemical properties that are difficult to reproduce or fully explain. Some laboratories have suggested that the grains may contain unusual crystalline arrangements or molecular bonds not commonly found in terrestrial minerals. Could these be clues to processes that occur only in the extreme conditions of space, or even traces of materials from beyond our solar system? While the evidence is preliminary, it challenges the assumption that every particle on Earth has a purely terrestrial origin. Antarctica's ice as a natural archive adds another layer of mystery. The continent's layers of frozen water accumulate slowly year by year, preserving a chronological record of atmospheric and environmental conditions over hundreds of thousands of years. Unlike most places on Earth where wind, rain and human activity disturb the natural record, Antarctica's ice is largely untouched. The alien particles embedded within it are in essence snapshots of a moment in cosmic time. Yet despite this extraordinary preservation, questions remain. How did these particles survive the journey through the atmosphere? How did they resist decay or alteration over eons beneath shifting ice? And how many more have yet to be discovered, lying dormant in the frozen layers above or below? The implications of these findings extend beyond Earth itself. If particles from other star systems or even interstellar space have made their way into Antarctic ice, they remind us that our planet exists in a larger cosmic context, connected to phenomena far beyond the solar system. These grains are tiny messengers, each carrying a fragment of a story that spans millions or even billions of years. Could they contain chemical signatures that hint at the formation of planets, the processes within distant stars, or even the building blocks of life elsewhere in the universe? Such questions may lie beyond our current capacity to answer, but they underscore the profound mystery encoded in these microscopic travelers. Some have ventured even more speculative interpretation. Could the particles represent traces of events that are entirely unknown to science? Cosmic collisions, interstellar visitors, or even remnants of material that predate the formation of the Earth itself? While such ideas are beyond conventional verification, they serve to highlight the limits of our understanding and the depth of the unknown that Antarctica silently preserves. In a continent where ice hides lakes, rivers, and ecosystems untouched by light, the discovery of alien particles adds yet another layer to the puzzle, reminding us that there are forces at play far larger and more mysterious than human history alone. As we examine the ice and its embedded secrets, the questions multiply. How many particles have yet to be discovered, locked away beneath layers of ice that have remained undisturbed for millions of years? What stories do they carry about the universe? About events that shaped our planet and the solar system, and about the processes that continue beyond our view? Antarctica, in its frozen stillness, remains a repository of mysteries, both terrestrial and cosmic, inviting us to look closer, to measure more carefully, and to consider that the answers may lie not just in what we see, but in what remains hidden, waiting for discovery. From the cosmic mysteries preserved in Antarctic ice, we shift our gaze downward into a world long buried beneath kilometers of frozen terrain. Antarctica, often imagined as a barren expanse of ice and wind, conceals a far more verdant past, a time when the continent was covered not by glaciers, but by lush forests teeming with life. Beneath the ice, scientists have uncovered evidence of ancient rainforests, fossilized trees, ferns, and pollen that tell a story of a climate and ecosystem radically different from the one we see today. These discoveries are revealed through careful analysis of rock, formations, and sediment cores extracted from deep beneath the ice. Fossilized plant material preserved in astonishing detail paints a picture of a continent warm and humid where dense canopies sheltered a diverse array of flora, but early research suggests that these forests thrived during the late Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, some 250 to 65 million years ago, when Antarctica occupied a more temperate position as part of the supercontinent Gondwana. This was a land of towering conifers, ferns, and primitive flowering plants thriving under a sun that cast long shadows over dense vegetation. Mainstream geology explains these forests as remnants of a time before the continent drifted southward into its current polar position and became engulfed by ice. Plate tectonics, shifting continents and changing climates, gradually transformed Antarctica from a thriving ecosystem into the frozen desert we recognize today. Fossilized tree stumps found upright in situ suggest that these were not merely transported remnants, but entire forests preserved where they once grew. The scale and distribution of these ancient trees indicate ecosystems both vast and complex, supporting diverse life forms that no longer exist on the continent. Yet, there is an element of mystery that accompanies these findings. How could such dense forests have existed so far south in latitudes that are now dominated by darkness for months at a time? Some researchers proposed that during the periods in question, Antarctica's position and axial tilt provided a milder climate with extended growing seasons and higher atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations that sustained abundant vegetation. But even with these explanations, the image of towering trees, lush undergrowth, and ecosystems teeming with life beneath what is now a solid ice sheet challenges our imagination. Evidence of these ancient forests is not limited to fossils alone. Pollen grains trapped in sediment cores, leaf impressions in sandstone, and even fossilized roots suggest that Antarctica was once home to ecosystems that rivaled modern tropical forests in diversity and scale. What creatures roamed these forests remains largely speculative. While fossils of insects and primitive amphibians have been found in other parts of Gondwana, Antarctica's own fossil record is tantalizingly incomplete, hinting at life forms yet to be discovered or perhaps lost entirely to the encroaching ice over millions of years. Some scientists have begun to consider the possibility that pockets of life may have persisted even as glaciers advanced. Could subglacial refugees have existed, isolated ecosystems that survived beneath ice, protected from harsh surface conditions? Modern discoveries of microbial life in subglacial lakes and ancient ice cores suggest that life can endure extreme isolation and darkness. Might similar principles have applied to remnants of ancient forests, leaving traces still detectable beneath layers of ice that have remained undisturbed for millennia? The The notion of ice-covered rainforests evokes a surreal image, a frozen canopy stretching for kilometers. Each tree a monument to a world erased by shifting climates yet preserved in rock and sediment like a memory locked in stone. Could these ancient ecosystems tell us more than just the story of the past? Might they reveal patterns about Earth's climate evolution or provide insight into how life adapts and survives under extreme conditions? Every fossil, every pollen grain is a fragment of a narrative that predates humans, a testament to resilience and change over geological time. Even more enigmatic are the implications of what remains hidden beneath the ice. Ground-penetrating radar and satellite imaging have revealed subglacial valleys and formations that suggest complex landscapes, possibly home to previously unknown flora and microfauna preserved in permafrost or subglacial lakes. Could there be undiscovered microecos frozen in time? Microbial communities tracing their lineage back to the forests that once flourished on the surface? And if so, what secrets might they hold about life's ability to endure, adapt, and evolve in isolation from the wider world? The discovery of Antarctica's ancient rainforests also forces us to reconsider our assumptions about the continent itself. For so long, Antarctica has been defined by its ice, its storms, and its seeming lifelessness. Yet beneath the surface lies evidence of a vibrant, dynamic world that existed millions of years ago, an ecosystem thriving under conditions that would today be considered impossible for this latitude. These forests, long buried and forgotten, remind us that Antarctica is not merely a frozen wasteland, but a continent with a deep, layered history capable of holding surprises that challenge conventional understanding. As we explore these remnants of a lost rainforest, questions multiply. How extensive were these forests? What diversity of life did they sustain? Could any trace of these ecosystems persist in subglacial refuse waiting to be rediscovered? Antarctica's ice, while concealing, is also a preserver, safeguarding a record of life and climate far older than human memory. And as we probe deeper, we are left to wonder what other secrets remain buried beneath kilometers of ice. Secrets that may reshape our understanding of the past, the resilience of life, and the untamed mysteries of the southernmost continent. From the ancient forests once hidden beneath Antarctica's ice, in such places, what other secrets might Antarctica still be keeping, waiting patiently beneath the ice for the day they are finally revealed? From the hidden waters of Antarctica's subglacial lakes, where ancient microbial life clings to existence, our exploration moves to a region where the ice itself seems to conceal an unexpected vitality. A vast area of marine birdland, seemingly frozen and desolate. Yet beneath its surface, scientists have detected something remarkable, an anomalous source of geothermal heat. In a continent defined by ice and extreme cold, this subterranean warmth raises profound questions about the forces at work far below the frozen exterior. Marine birdland, sprawling across West Antarctica, is a place of extremes. Its surface is sculpted by relentless katabatic winds and deep crevasse ice sheets stretching for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. From above it appears uniform, unyielding and inert, yet beneath this frozen expanse, seismic surveys and satellite measurements reveal that temperatures in some subglacial regions are unexpectedly high. The heat emanates from the Earth's crust, gradually warming the ice above and creating conditions that challenge conventional understanding of Antarctic geology. Scientists first became aware of these anomalies through radar and ice-penetrating sensors, which showed ice flowing more rapidly than in surrounding regions. The acceleration suggested a reduction in friction at the base of the ice sheet, likely caused by the presence of meltwater, water warmed by geothermal activity beneath. While geothermal heat is not unusual in tectonically active regions, the intensity and distribution of heat beneath marine birdland are puzzling, particularly because the area is relatively stable geologically speaking. Could this warmth be the product of hidden volcanic activity or something else entirely buried deep in the Earth's crust? Volcanologists point to evidence of subglacial volcanoes scattered beneath West Antarctica, some of which may still be active. Even though no eruptions have been observed in recorded history, radar surveys suggest cone-like formations beneath the ice, consistent with volcanic structures and heat flow. Measurements indicate elevated temperatures directly above these features. If active magma lies below, it could explain the anomalous warmth influencing both ice flow and subglacial hydrology. Yet the sheer scale of the heat anomalies suggests that conventional volcanic explanations may only account for part of the story. The implications of this heat are profound. Where ice melts at its base, subglacial lakes can form, creating habitats for microbial life isolated from sunlight, atmospheric gases, and the surface world. Marie bird lands. Anomalous warmth may be responsible for sustaining such hidden ecosystems, nourishing microbial communities in pockets of liquid water trapped beneath kilometers of ice. Could these isolated habitats host life forms uniquely adapted to geothermal conditions, thriving in complete darkness for millennia? And if so, might they be as ancient as the ice itself, carrying genetic histories that predate the last ice age? Geophysical models suggest that the heat beneath Marie bird land may extend over vast areas, influencing ice flow in ways that remain poorly understood. Some researchers propose that this geothermal energy could interact with deep faults or fractures in the crust, subtly reshaping the continent from beneath. Could the ice above conceal not only life and geological complexity, but also dynamic processes that challenge our understanding of Antarctic stability? The notion that the continent's frozen surface may hide such unseen forces adds a layer of mystery to an already enigmatic land. Speculation extends further. Some suggest that these anomalous heat sources might represent remnants of ancient tectonic activity, vestiges of geological epochs long before Antarctica became a frozen continent. Could they be echoes of the time when the landmass supported lush forests, flowing rivers, and perhaps even early forms of life that we have yet to discover? Others posit that the unusual geothermal patterns could be linked to mantle plumes, rising columns of hot rock from deep within the Earth. An explanation that situates Marie bird land within a broader planetary context, hinting at forces operating on scales far beyond human observation. Despite decades of research, the heat anomalies beneath Marie bird land remain largely uncharted. Direct observation is impossible. Drilling through kilometers of ice is a monumental challenge, and the harsh Antarctic environment complicates long-term study. Yet every measurement, every satellite image, every radar pulse hints at a hidden world alive with energy, influencing ice, water, and perhaps life itself. Could these geothermal regions be the key to understanding why some ice sheets are thinning while others remain stable? And could they harbor unknown ecosystems quietly surviving beneath the frozen crust? As we trace the contours of Marie bird land from above and below, the continent reveals its paradoxical nature. It is at once solid and fluid, lifeless and active, frozen yet warm in hidden pockets. The anomalous heat beneath the ice is a reminder that Antarctica is not a static landscape. It is a dynamic living system shaped by forces both ancient and ongoing. In a land of extremes, even the invisible warmth beneath the ice becomes a narrative thread, connecting geology, hydrology, and biology in ways we are only beginning to explore. And so, as we contemplate the hidden warmth beneath Marie bird land, questions multiply. What processes generate this unexpected heat? And how far do they extend beneath the ice? Could they be influencing the stability of entire ice sheets or sustaining life in forms we have yet to encounter? And most provocatively, what other forces lie concealed beneath Antarctica's frozen surface, silently shaping the continent while remaining entirely out of reach? The answers remain elusive, and the mysteries of Marie bird land endure, hidden beneath kilometers of ice, waiting for discovery. From the hidden warmth beneath Marie Birdland, we turn to a landscape of stark contrast. A place where ice gives way to barren rock and Antarctica's familiar frozen monotony is interrupted by valleys devoid of snow yet rich in mystery. Known as the McMurdo Dry Valleys, this region stretches across roughly 4,800 kilometers, a desert carved from ice, wind, and time. Here, the continent's frozen surface reveals an environment that seems both alien and ancient, challenging assumptions about the extremes life can endure. The dry valleys are defined by their remarkable lack of ice. Strong kadibatic winds, sometimes exceeding 200 km/h, descend from surrounding glaciers, evaporating moisture and leaving the ground almost entirely bare. Vast expanses of gravel, salt flats and jagged rock formations dominate the landscape. Streams trickle only seasonally, fed by glacial melt during brief summer months, and most of the year, the valleys remain silent, lifeless to the untrained eye. Yet beneath this apparent barrenness lies a world of subtle complexity and unanswered questions. Scientists first became intrigued by the dry valleys because of their resemblance to extraterrestrial landscapes. Mars in particular shares many visual similarities: exposed rock surfaces, polygonal soil patterns, and extreme aridity. This resemblance has made the valleys a natural laboratory for studying how life might survive in the harshest conditions. Microbial mats, endolithic organisms living within rocks, and salt-tolerant microbes have all been found, suggesting that even here, in the absence of flowing water and warmth, life finds a way. Could these organisms be relics of a time when Antarctica was far warmer? Or are they uniquely adapted descendants of ancient lineages surviving against overwhelming odds? The geology of the dry valleys adds another layer of intrigue. Deep channels carved by glaciers tens of thousands of years ago, patterned ground created by freeze-thaw cycles and salt deposits accumulated over millennia, all hint at a dynamic past. Yet the absence of conventional glacial cover in the valleys themselves has led to questions. Why did ice retreat here while covering nearly the rest of the continent? Could subglacial geothermal activity similar to that beneath Marie Birdland have played a role, melting the ice from below and leaving behind a stark desert in its wake? The answers remain elusive, as do many details of the valley's formation and evolution. One of the most puzzling features of the dry valleys is the recurrence of mysterious blood-red streams during the brief summer thaw. Unlike the more famous bloodfalls, these smaller flows appear intermittently, staining the ice and soil with iron-rich water. Researchers suggest that subglacial or subsurface chemical reactions may release iron and other minerals, yet the exact source and consistency of these flows remains uncertain. Could the dry valleys harbor undiscovered chemical or biological processes hidden beneath layers of sediment operating in isolation for centuries? Historical exploration adds to the valley's enigmatic reputation. Early expeditions, including those led by Robert Falcon Scott and subsequent scientific teams in the early 20th century, documented the strange silence, barren expanses, and peculiar rock formations. Maps produced during these missions were often incomplete, leaving large areas uncharted for decades. Modern satellite imaging and remote sensing have revealed features invisible to early explorers: subglacial channels, buried lakes, and geomagnetic anomalies. Could these indicate past activity? Perhaps even ancient ecosystems that thrived before the continent was fully glaciated. The ecological surprises of the dry valleys continue to captivate scientists. Despite the extreme cold, salt moved deeper into the continent to a realm where mountains rise, not above the ice but entirely beneath it. The Gamba Sev Mountains, a vast subglacial range roughly the size of the European Alps, lie buried under nearly 2 kilometers of ice in East Antarctica. Though invisible to the naked eye, their presence is revealed through seismic surveys, ice-penetrating radar, and satellite data. a hidden world of peaks, valleys, and plateaus that has remained untouched for tens of millions of years. Discovered during the Soviet Antarctic expedition of 1958, the Gamburtsev Mountains initially puzzled scientists. How could such an extensive mountain range exist entirely hidden beneath the ice with no sign of peaks piercing the frozen surface? Subsequent research revealed that the range spans approximately 1,200 kilometers in length and reaches elevations equivalent to the European Alps. Yet it is encased in ice so thick and ancient that direct observation remains impossible. It is a realm both immense and inaccessible, a subterranean wilderness that challenges our understanding of Antarctica's geological history. The mountain's origins are themselves mysterious. Mainstream geologists propose that the Gamburtsevs are remnants of an ancient orogenic event formed over 1 billion years ago during the assembly of the supercontinent Rodinia. Over the ensuing eons, erosion and glacial activity buried them beneath successive ice sheets, preserving their structure while concealing it from view. Yet many questions remain. How did such high, rugged peaks survive the relentless weight and movement of ice for millions of years without collapsing under the pressure? And why does the region exhibit such a remarkable combination of seismic stability and deep hidden relief? Seismic and radar surveys have revealed valleys and subglacial lakes nestled within the range, suggesting that the mountains are far from static. The ice flowing above is shaped by the topography beneath, forming intricate patterns of creases and ridges. Some researchers have hypothesized that the Gamburtsevs may act as a natural reservoir of geothermal heat, influencing the movement and melting of the ice above. Could these hidden mountains rising silently beneath the frozen surface be shaping Antarctica's ice sheets in ways we are only beginning to understand? The region's inaccessibility has fueled further speculation. Some have suggested that the mountains may harbor subglacial ecosystems isolated beneath the ice for millions of years. Could pockets of microbial life or even traces of more complex organisms survive in liquid lakes fed by geothermal heat within the range? Discoveries in nearby subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vasto and Lake Willins, have already shown that life can persist in extreme isolation, nourished by chemical energy rather than sunlight. If life exists here, it would represent an entirely self-contained biosphere hidden beneath ice and rock, a reminder that Antarctica is not merely a frozen desert, but a repository of living mysteries. The mountains also raise questions about Earth's climatic and geological past. Their preservation beneath ice suggests that the continent has experienced prolonged periods of glaciation. Yet, the mountains themselves appear to predate the most recent ice sheets by hundreds of millions of years. Could the Gamburtsevs have influenced the formation of Antarctica's ice sheets, acting as a backbone that shaped the flow of glaciers and the accumulation of ice over vast spans of time? And what role might they have played in the continent's transition from temperate forests to the frozen expanse we see today? Some theories venture into more speculative territory. The abrupt disappearance of peaks beneath ice, combined with the mountains' unexpectedly youthful topography relative to their ancient origins, has prompted some researchers to consider whether unknown tectonic or geothermal processes may still be active beneath the ice. Could hidden forces have contributed to maintaining the mountain's relief despite the immense weight of kilometers of ice? And could these forces also be influencing the stability of surrounding ice sheets in ways that remain undetected? Despite extensive research, much about the Gamburts Mountains remains unknown. Direct observation is impossible without drilling through kilometers of ice, and even radar and seismic methods can provide only a partial picture. Yet the data available suggest a landscape of extraordinary complexity. Jagged peaks, deep valleys and plateau-like formations, all hidden beneath a frozen surface that has obscured them from human eyes for millions of years. It is a place where geological history is preserved in pristine form. Yet, its secrets are almost entirely beyond reach. The Gambotevs challenge our perception of Antarctica. To many, the continent is a flat, icy wasteland, inhospitable and lifeless. Yet beneath this perception lies an intricate, dynamic mountain range, shaping the ice above, influencing subglacial water systems and perhaps sheltering life from the harsh conditions on the surface. The contrast between the frozen exterior and the hidden peaks beneath emphasizes that Antarctica is a continent of paradoxes where visible desolation masks a complex, largely unexplored interior. As we contemplate these hidden mountains, questions emerge that may never be fully answered. What other geological features lie concealed beneath the ice? How did the Gamberts survive eons of glaciation while maintaining their rugged topography? Could they harbor unknown ecosystems influenced by geothermal heat and isolated for millions of years? And what secrets about Earth's past and perhaps even its future might be encoded in these hidden peaks, silently preserved beneath ice that has endured for millennia? In the Gambertseef Mountains, Antarctica's past and present converge beneath a frozen veil. They are a reminder that beneath the familiar white expanse, a hidden world persists, ancient, untouched, and filled with mysteries that continue to elude human understanding. And as we explore this continent of extremes, we are left to wonder what else lies concealed beneath kilometers of ice, waiting for the moment when human curiosity finally pierces the frozen surface. From the hidden peaks of the Gambortev Mountains, our journey moves to the icy coasts of Antarctica, where history and rumor intertwine beneath a frozen veil. Long after the continent's geological secrets were buried under kilometers of ice, human explorers began to leave their own marks, some official, others shrouded in mystery. Among the most persistent enigmas are the tales of lost Nazi expeditions and rumors of secret bases established during the late 1930s and early 1940s. Germany's interest in Antarctica began in earnest in 1938 when the Nazi regime launched the expedition known as the New Swabia Expedition, or Noaban, in Queen Marland. The stated purpose was scientific, to chart unclaimed territories, map ice formations, and study whale populations. Photographs from the expedition show aircraft surveying the icy terrain and banners marking landing sites. The expedition returned to Germany with extensive aerial photographs and geological data, much of which informed later Antarctic research. Yet, even within these official records, anomalies sparked speculation. Airfields hastily constructed on glaciers and geographic notations that some have interpreted as suggesting secret activities. Rumors intensified after World War II. Reports surfaced claiming that Nazi scientists had established hidden bases, complete with laboratories and airstrips deep within the Antarctic interior. Some accounts allege that expeditions continued secretly after 1945, with technology far beyond the known capabilities of the time. While historians debate the credibility of these stories, the persistence of the legends reflects the intrigue surrounding a continent so remote that verification is difficult. Could the harsh, frozen landscape have concealed human activity long enough to leave traces still undiscovered? Mainstream explanations argue that logistical and environmental realities would have made permanent bases impossible. Extreme cold, unpredictable weather, and the sheer thickness of ice would have prevented long-term habitation or large-scale construction. Yet even skeptics acknowledge that temporary camps and aerial surveys were feasible, and that the photographs and records from the New Swabia expedition document genuine human presence. The line between fact and conjecture begins to blur when considering the scale and secrecy of wartime operations, particularly in regions beyond the reach of conventional oversight. Further fueling the mystery are reports of unusual structures captured in satellite imagery, interpreted by some as remnants of subterranean facilities or concealed airstrips. Many of these claims remain unverified, often dismissed as optical illusions created by crevasses, rock formations, or the shifting ice. Yet the human fascination with hidden bases persists. Could parts of the continent, like the subglacial valleys and mountain ranges beneath the Gambates, have provided natural cover for clandestine operations? The question lingers because Antarctica is vast, largely unexplored, and extraordinarily difficult to survey in detail. Even more tantalizing are the connections drawn between these rumored bases and post-war technological speculation. Stories abound of advanced aircraft designs, experimental propulsion systems, and secret research programs allegedly tested in the Antarctic interior. While most of these tales remain firmly in the realm of conjecture, they highlight the allure of a place where isolation and secrecy are almost guaranteed. Antarctica, with its kilometers of ice and near-infinite horizons, offers a perfect setting for human imagination to take flight. Blurring the lines between history and legend, the geography of Queen Mare Land, exploration could confirm its existence. If early civilizations had somehow charted or visited Antarctica, what knowledge did they possess that has since vanished? And might traces of their presence lie hidden beneath the ice, imperceptible to conventional surveys? Subglacial landscapes complicate the picture further. Beneath kilometers office lie valleys, mountains, and even lake systems that could, in theory, have sheltered life forms and hypothetically human activity. The Gambates Mountains, with their hidden peaks and plateaus, form a topography that could have supported habitation before the glaciation that transformed Antarctica into a frozen desert. Could these mountains have been islands of dry land in a world that millennia ago was far warmer and capable of supporting flora, fauna, and human societies? Archaeologists point to parallels in other regions of the world where advanced civilizations left remnants in climates and landscapes that have since dramatically changed. Just as Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and the Nile Delta have shifted over thousands of years, Antarctica may conceal layers of history inaccessible to us without extensive excavation. Fossilized pollen, submerged riverbeds, and sedimentary deposits suggest that the continent once supported forests, wetlands, and ecosystems capable of sustaining complex life. In such an environment, the possibility of human habitation, while improbable, cannot be entirely dismissed. Some fringe theories go further, proposing that unknown technologies or sophisticated societies existed before recorded history, leaving behind traces beneath the ice. Proponents point to anomalies in magnetic surveys, unexplained geological formations, and scattered artifacts whose authenticity and origins remain contested. While mainstream science largely attributes these features to natural processes, the questions they raise are compelling. Could there have been a civilization advanced enough to leave an imprint on Antarctica before the Ice Age? And if so, why did it vanish without leaving direct evidence above the ice? Even conventional science admits that the continent's past is poorly understood. Geological evidence shows that Antarctica has undergone periods of warming, glaciation, and submersion under seas, creating the possibility that any surface structures or settlements from an ancient era could now be buried beneath kilometers of ice. The very ice that preserves the continent's history also conceals it, acting as both archist and gatekeeper. Could remnants of dwellings, tools, or symbolic structures lie frozen, invisible to modern detection methods? The intersection of known science and speculation raises profound questions about human history. If Antarctica was once hospitable to life and possibly to humans, how might such a civilization have interacted with its environment? What knowledge or technologies could have been lost as glaciers advanced and temperatures plummeted? And perhaps most importantly, what can these mysteries teach us about the resilience and impermanence of civilizations in the face of shifting climates and planetary change? As we scan satellite imagery, examine ice core samples, and explore the subglacial valleys, the sense of hidden history becomes almost tangible. Antarctica, long considered a final frontier of Earth's natural world, may also be a frontier of human curiosity and imagination, a place where geological and archaeological enigmas intersect. Could the continent hold stories of civilizations that flourished and disappeared long before humans recorded history elsewhere? Or are we glimpsing the natural complexity of the ice, misinterpreting patterns as evidence of human design? Whatever the explanation, the possibility of an ancient civilization beneath Antarctica's ice forces us to reconsider assumptions about the planet's history. Beneath the glaciers, valleys and mountains lies a landscape that has witnessed transformations beyond human comprehension. Climates that have shifted, forests that have vanished, and seas that have risen and fallen. Within this frozen archive, evidence of life, adaptation, and perhaps human ingenuity may yet await discovery. And as we peer into the white expanse, we are left with a question that is as compelling as it is unanswerable. What secrets lie hidden beneath Antarctica's ice, waiting for the day we finally uncover them? From the tantalizing whispers of lost civilizations buried beneath the ice. Our journey now descends into the hidden waters that lie entombed below Antarctica's frozen surface. Vast subglacial lakes sealed off from the outside world for millions of years. These liquid reservoirs, isolated in darkness beneath kilometers of ice, are among the most inaccessible places on Earth. And yet within them, scientists have uncovered traces of life. Not the monumental ruins of vanished peoples, but the microscopic survivors of time itself. Microbes that may represent some of the oldest lineages on our planet. Picture Lake Vasto, one of the largest and most mysterious of these subglacial bodies. Hidden beneath more than 2 meters of solid ice, it stretches over 200 meters in length, rivaling Lake Ontario in size. For at least 15 million years, no sunlight has touched its waters. No wind has disturbed its surface. In this perpetual darkness, under crushing pressure and frigid temperatures, it would seem impossible for life to exist. And yet, against expectation, it does. When Russian scientists drilled down to Lake Vasto in 2012, carefully avoiding contamination, they retrieved ice cores from the lake's frozen cap. To their astonishment, genetic material was discovered, sequences suggesting microbial communities thriving in complete isolation. The samples hinted at bacteria adapted to extreme conditions, feeding perhaps on minerals, gases, or chemical reactions occurring deep beneath the ice. Could these organisms represent relics from an ancient biosphere preserved in conditions untouched since before the Ice Age? Lake Willings, another subglacial lake, revealed similar secrets. When American researchers melted through the ice to reach its waters, they found living microbes consuming iron, sulfur, and other chemical compounds, suggesting entire ecosystems had survived without sunlight for hundreds of thousands of years. In Lake Mercer, yet another hidden body of water, traces of marine organisms were identified, plankton, and datums that suggested a connection to the ancient seas. The discovery raises a haunting possibility. Are these lakes not only home to microbial life, but also archives of entire ecosystems that flourished in Antarctica's distant past? What makes these findings more compelling is the time scale. Many of these microbial lineages could predate humanity itself, persisting in genetic continuity for millions of years. If they are descendants of organisms that once thrived in Antarctica's prehistoric rainforests, then these subglacial lakes may hold living fossils, direct links to a warmer, greener world long buried under ice. Could these microscopic survivors be telling us a story about Earth's deep history that we have yet to fully understand? The implications extend beyond our planet. Subglacial lakes provide analogies for environments thought to exist on icy moons such as Europa or Enceladus, where oceans lie hidden beneath frozen shells. If microbes can thrive in the extreme isolation of Antarctica, might similar life forms be waiting beneath extraterrestrial ice sheets, undetected yet enduring? Antarctica, in this sense, becomes not just a frontier of earthly science, but a testing ground for the search for life in the cosmos. Still, questions linger. Some researchers argue that contamination may have skewed results, that drilling introduced modern microbes into pristine waters. Others caution against interpreting genetic fragments as definitive proof of thriving ecosystems. Yet, even with these reservations, the possibility remains that ancient microbial life has survived undisturbed beneath the Antarctic ice, patiently adapting, quietly enduring, and waiting for discovery. And then comes the more speculative turn. If microbes have endured for millions of years in these lakes, might there be more complex organisms as well? Could small multicellular life, worms, crustaceans, or even fish, have found refuge in these hidden waters, evolving separately in complete isolation? Mainstream science has yet to uncover such evidence, but whispers of unusual genetic sequences and unexplained fragments in ice core studies continue to stir curiosity. Might Antarctica's subglacial lakes conceal an entire biosphere unlike anything we have encountered before? Some fringe theories even suggest that these microbial communities may not be wholly terrestrial in origin. They point to unusual isotopic signatures and the harsh conditions of survival, drawing comparisons to meteorites that have carried complex organic molecules to Earth. Could Antarctica's subglacial lakes be home to life forms seeded from space? Cosmic hitchhikers that found refuge in the safety of liquid water beneath the ice? The notion remains unproven, but it underscores how little we truly know about these hidden environments. What is clear is that Antarctica's subglacial lakes represent one of Earth's last great biological frontiers. Their ecosystems challenge assumptions about where life can exist and how it can adapt. They remind us that even in the most extreme environments, nature finds a way to persist. And perhaps, just perhaps, they hold lessons about resilience, adaptation, and the enduring mystery of life itself. As we look toward these hidden lakes, sealed beneath the ice for millions of years, we are left with haunting questions. What else stirs in their dark waters? Are we glimpsing only the smallest fraction of a hidden ecosystem? Or is microbial life the last remnant of a forgotten world? And if life can survive, evolve, and endure? Saturation and high ultraviolet radiation. Microbial life persists in niches where water is scarce but available in thin films, brine pockets, or within rocks themselves. Could these organisms hold clues to Earth's earliest life forms, or to the mechanisms that allow life to endure in environments previously thought inhospitable? And what might they reveal about the limits of adaptation and resilience on a planet in constant flux? Some theorists take the intrigue even further, suggesting that the valley's unusual topography and ice-free conditions might hide other anomalies. Subsurface water networks, geothermal hotspots, or even remnants of human or pre-human activity preserved beneath layers of gravel and sediment. While these ideas remain speculative, the dry valley's capacity to surprise is undeniable. Even the most carefully mapped regions of the world offer no parallel. A desert within ice shaped by wind, temperature, and time, where the invisible and the extraordinary persist quietly in plain sight. In contemplating the dry valleys, one cannot ignore the profound temporal depth of Antarctica. These valleys have witnessed dramatic changes in climate, ice coverage, and topography over millions of years. They are a natural record of survival and transformation where life endures in isolation. The land preserves evidence of ancient forces, and each rock, stream, and salt flat carries stories written in slow geological time. What remains hidden beneath the gravel and sediment may be just as significant as what is visible. A reminder that even in the most extreme landscapes, mystery thrives. As we peer across the dry valleys, the questions multiply. Why have these valleys remained ice-free when all around them the continent is buried beneath kilometers of ice? What forces have shaped their landscapes? And what life, chemical or microbial, persists unseen? Could they hold clues to Antarctica's warmer past, to hidden ecosystems, or even to phenomena we have yet to imagine? The answers remain elusive, leaving the dry valley suspended between science and speculation, a testament to the enduring enigmas of the frozen continent. from the stark, windswept expanses of the dry valleys, where life clings to existence in shadow and stone. Our journey now descends into a world hidden beneath Antarctica's ice. Vast, luminous caverns glowing with a surreal blue light that seems to come from the ice itself. These gigantic ice caves are among the most visually arresting phenomena on the continent, appearing as alien landscapes carved by forces both familiar and mysterious. Within their walls, light refracts and filters through crystal-clear ice, creating a suspended, almost otherworldly glow that invites exploration and speculation. The blue hue is not merely aesthetic. It emerges from the ice's unique structure. Dense, compressed layers of frozen water absorb longer wavelengths of light, allowing only the shorter blue wavelengths to pass through. Yet the sheer scale of some of these caverns adds a sense of wonder and uncertainty. Some chambers extend hundreds of meters into the ice, their ceilings towering like cathedrals, and their floors littered with frozen stalagmites sculpted over millennia. How such immense structures have formed beneath the relentless weight of Antarctica's ice sheets remains partially unexplained, raising questions about the forces shaping the continent from below. Scientists have identified many of these caverns near active glacial flows and meltwater channels where liquid water seeps and carves pathways through ice, slowly hollowing immense chambers. These natural processes are slow, taking thousands or even millions of years. Yet the result is a labyrinth of tunnels and halls, some of which remain inaccessible to humans. Remote sensing and radar surveys suggest networks of interconnected cavities illuminated by an internal diffuse blue glow that seems to pulse with the ice itself. Could these formations be simple geological curiosities? Or do they hint at something more profound beneath Antarctica's frozen surface? The presence of flowing water within these caverns is particularly intriguing. Subglacial rivers and streams can erode passages, creating vast ice-halved halls while supplying pockets of liquid that might sustain microbial life. Scientists have discovered bacteria and algae within ice layers near these channels, raising the possibility that some caverns may host isolated ecosystems. Could life exist in these blue-lit chambers, surviving in isolation from sunlight, oxygen, and the surface world for tens of thousands of years? If so, these caverns would not only be geological marvels, but also biological sanctuaries holding secrets of resilience and adaptation in the harshest conditions on Earth. Some of the more speculative ideas surrounding these caverns have captured public imagination. Explorers and researchers have noted unusual acoustics, strange patterns in ice formations, and rare bioluminescent organisms in nearby subglacial lakes. While mainstream science attributes the glowing primarily to light refraction and ice density, questions remain. Are there chemical processes at play deep within the ice? Could geothermal heat or mineral-rich water influence the light, creating subtle variations that hint at unknown dynamics beneath the surface? The cavern scale and isolation naturally fuels such speculation as much as they challenge our understanding of Antarctic geology. Historical accounts of early Antarctic explorers occasionally hint at vast ice, chambers glimpsed through creases or partially melted glaciers. While documentation was limited, these reports describe immense hollow spaces that shimmered in blue and green hues, leaving a lasting impression of wonder. Modern satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D mapping have confirmed the presence of many such caverns, yet most remain unexplored, their interiors inaccessible due to shifting ice, extreme cold, and the risk of collapse. What lies in these hidden corridors, formations shaped purely by ice and water, or something else entirely, remains a question open to imagination. The caverns also invite reflection on the passage of geological time. Each chamber is a record of ice movement, pressure changes, and subglacial hydrology spanning millennia. Stalactites and frozen columns preserve the slow accumulation of ice, while smooth, polished walls reveal the erosive power of water and time. Could these chambers contain further evidence of the continent's past? Trapped air bubbles, ancient microorganisms, or chemical signatures that record climatic events from long before humans walked the Earth? Every shimmer of blue light seems to beckon toward answers that lie just out of reach. Even in their beauty and mystery, these caverns remind us of the fragility and dynamism of Antarctica. Ice is solid yet fluid, ancient yet ever-changing. Subglacial forces, geothermal activity, water flow, and pressure from thousands of meters of ice continuously reshape the landscape, carving new chambers even as old ones collapse. Could there be vast, undiscovered networks of ice caverns stretching for kilometers, hidden entirely from satellite observation, waiting to be revealed by those daring enough to explore them? As we peer into these gigantic blue glowing halls, questions emerge with every curve of ice and pulse of light. What processes carved these immense spaces, and how long have they persisted in near total isolation? Could they harbor life forms we have yet to discover, or chemical and geological processes that defy explanation? And beyond the scientific, is there a sense of wonder, an encounter with a world both familiar and alien, illuminated by light trapped for millennia, whispering stories of Earth's frozen extremes? The answers remain elusive, leaving the ice to glow in silence, waiting for the day its secrets are finally unveiled. From the hidden luminescence of Antarctica's ice caverns, where light bends and shimmers through crystal structures frozen for millennia, our attention now turns skyward toward fragments of other worlds that have found their way to this frozen continent. Meteorites, the remnants of asteroids and planetary collisions, have been landing on Earth for billions of years. But Antarctica's unique environment has made it one of the most extraordinary repositories for these cosmic visitors. Here, in the stark white expanses and wind-sculpted ice, humanity glimpses evidence not only of the universe beyond, but also of mysteries that have yet to be fully explained. The first meteorites were discovered in Antarctica in the 1960s, but it was the combination of vast ice sheets, relentless winds, and glacial movement that allowed scientists to recognize the continent as a natural archive. Unlike deserts or forests where debris can be quickly buried or eroded, Antarctica's ice preserves these stones with remarkable clarity. Dark fragments lying against a bright reflective surface are easy to spot, and glaciers can slowly concentrate meteorites in specific regions known as meteorite stranding zones. Some of these fragments have rested undisturbed for tens of thousands of years, offering glimpses into events that occurred long before humanity emerged. Among the most compelling aspects of these discoveries is diversity scientists have catalogued thousands of meteorites ranging from iron-rich metallic chunks to carbonaceous chondrites containing primitive organic compounds. Some are believed to originate from Mars, others from the Moon, and still others from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Each piece carries within it the chemical and structural signatures of its origin, encoding information about planetary formation, cosmic collisions, and even the early conditions of the solar system. Could some fragments, particularly the carbon-rich ones, offer clues about the building blocks of life itself? Antarctica's extreme. Ice cores must be extracted under sterile conditions to prevent contamination, preserving the integrity of these ancient samples. Microbiologists employ advanced molecular techniques to sequence DNA and investigate metabolic pathways, searching for evidence of activity that has persisted across eons. Every discovery raises further questions. Do these organisms reproduce in some minimal form beneath the ice? Are they entirely dormant? Or do they interact with the chemical environment around them in subtle, undetectable ways? Beyond the scientific, there is a philosophical and almost poetic resonance to these findings. In a continent defined by ice, where the landscape appears inert and lifeless, traces of ancient existence endure, reminding us that life finds a way even in the harshest environments. They speak of patience, resilience, and the remarkable continuity of life on a planet in constant flux. These microorganisms invite us to imagine a hidden, frozen world where time is measured in hundreds of millions of years, where the smallest forms of life persist quietly beneath a frozen sky awaiting discovery. And so as we peer into Antarctica's ice cores, the questions multiply. How much ancient life remains hidden, awaiting the chance to be revealed? What can these resilient organisms teach us about survival, adaptation, and the origins of life itself? And what other secrets lie silently preserved in the ice, patiently enduring, waiting for humanity to notice? The mysteries of Antarctica continue to unfold, and the story of life that refuses to yield to time remains one of the continent's most profound enigmas. Wetlands now hidden beneath kilometers of frozen history. Scientific investigations have revealed that methane can accumulate in subglacial sediments through both biological and geological processes. Microbes existing in pockets of water trapped beneath the ice slowly digest organic matter, releasing methane over millennia. In deeper sediment layers, chemical reactions between minerals and ancient organic deposits may also generate the gas. Normally, methane would rise and escape into the atmosphere, but here, the immense pressure from overlying ice and the frigid temperatures create natural containment. In essence, the ice itself acts as a colossal lid, preserving the gas in a delicate frozen equilibrium. Yet, the presence of these trapped gases raises pressing questions. Could shifts in ice thickness, melting at the base of glaciers, or sudden fractures release bursts of methane into the atmosphere? Scientists studying climate change are acutely aware that even small releases could have implications for global warming, as methane is a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide. But beyond the environmental stakes, the phenomenon carries a deeper, almost cinematic allure. These reservoirs are preserved records of life and climate from epochs long before human observation, held in a frozen time capsule beneath a silent frozen world. Historical context adds further intrigue. Antarctica was not always a land of ice. Fossil evidence, pollen, and sediment cores indicate that 50 million years ago the continent was covered with forests and teeming with diverse ecosystems. Methane trapped beneath the ice may represent the final whispers of that ancient biosphere sealed away as the ice sheets advanced. Could the chemical signatures preserved in these reservoirs reveal not only the nature of past life, but also the climatic shifts that transformed a temperate paradise into the frozen desert we know today? Modern exploration of these methane reserves is not straightforward. Direct access is nearly impossible. Drilling through kilometers of ice and sediment is both technically challenging and fraught with risk. Instead, scientists rely on remote sensing, seismic surveys, and geochemical modeling to infer the presence and extent of the reservoirs. Occasionally, subtle bubbles in subglacial lakes, anomalous seismic reflections, or localized warming at the ice bed interface hint at the underlying methane. Each of these clues raises more questions than answers, revealing a dynamic and hidden subglacial environment that challenges conventional understanding. Speculative theories occasionally enter the discourse, fueled by the unusual behavior of ice and gas in these extreme conditions. Could pockets of methane be linked to geothermal anomalies beneath the ice? Or might they interact with subglacial lakes in unexpected ways, creating chemical or physical feedback loops? Could ancient microbial life within the sediments influence the stability of these reservoirs, subtly generating gas in ways we do not yet fully grasp? While mainstream science approaches these questions cautiously, the very presence of these enormous hidden stores of methane invites contemplation about Earth's deep history and its ongoing processes hidden from the surface world. The phenomenon also invites reflection on scale and isolation. These methane reservoirs are preserved in a continent largely untouched by humans, yet they contain evidence of processes that have unfolded over millions of years. They are reminders that Antarctica is not a static landscape. but a living archive where geology, chemistry, and biology interact quietly beneath a surface that appears serene and unchanging. Could similar reservoirs exist elsewhere on other icy worlds such as Europa or Enceladus, trapped beneath frozen crusts, holding both chemical clues and potential signs of extraterrestrial life? The comparison is not mere speculation. It underscores how Antarctica serves as both a laboratory and a mirror for planetary science. As we consider these trapped methane reservoirs, we are confronted with the duality of Antarctica, a place of both preservation and potential change. Within the frozen depths, the past endures encoded in gas, sediment, and ice. Yet the same ice that locks away these ancient stores is not eternal in the face of shifting climates. The delicate equilibrium between frozen containment and potential release reminds us that even the most remote corners of the planet are part of a complex, interconnected system, vulnerable to forces both natural and human influence. And so beneath the ice, the story of methane endures, silent, frozen, and largely unseen. It is a story of ancient life, chemical alchemy, and the hidden energy of a continent that continues to surprise and challenge our understanding. What secrets lie within these frozen reservoirs, and how might they reshape our knowledge of Earth's history and its future? The questions linger, echoing through the icy depths as Antarctica patiently holds its mysteries for those willing to seek them. Beneath Antarctica's seemingly eternal ice, preserved in the crystalline layers of ice cores, lie fragments of life that challenge the imagination and stretch the boundaries of scientific understanding. These are not mere remnants of the last glacial period or the ice ages of tens of thousands of years ago. Some of these organisms appear to be astonishingly ancient, potentially dating back over 500 million years to a time when the Earth itself was in a period of dramatic transformation. Encountering evidence of life that predates human civilization by hundreds of millions of years forces a reconsideration of what it means for organisms to endure, adapt, and survive in the most extreme conditions on the planet. Ice cores drilled from deep within the East Antarctic plateau have long been a window into Earth's climatic history. Layers of snow and ice accumulate year after year, trapping air bubbles, dust, and microscopic particles, preserving them in a frozen archive. In recent decades, these cores have revealed traces of ancient microbial life, some surprisingly intact, their DNA sequences intact enough to allow analysis. Researchers examining these tiny organisms have discovered metabolic activity in cellular structures that hint at survival, strategies far more sophisticated than previously understood. How could life persist for such immense stretches of time, locked within ice that is both hostile and isolating? The age of these organisms is staggering. Radiometric dating of surrounding sediments and ice layers suggests that some of the microbes may trace their lineage back to the early Paleozoic era, a time when Earth's continents were drifting, the oceans teeming with early multicellular life, and the first complex ecosystems were forming. If confirmed, these findings imply that some forms of life have endured for 500 million years, surviving cataclysmic changes in climate, atmospheric composition, and continental drift. They endured global glaciations, meteor impacts, and mass extinctions, only to become encased in ice, remarkably preserved, yet isolated from the world above. The implications of these discoveries ripple across multiple scientific fields. For evolutionary biologists, such long-lived organisms represent living records of ancient genetic information, a snapshot of life's early experiments. Could these microbes hold clues to how life evolved under extreme conditions, or how early organisms coped with shifts in oxygen levels, temperature, and salinity? Could their resilience offer insights into life's capacity to survive in conditions once thought uninhabitable? And if these microorganisms can endure Antarctica's frozen isolation for hundreds of millions of years, what might this suggest about the potential for life on icy worlds elsewhere in the solar system? From Jupiter's moon Europa to Saturn's Enceladus. Yet the discovery is not without mystery. How do these ancient organisms remain viable after being trapped for such unimaginable spans of time? Laboratory experiments suggest that some microbes can enter a state of suspended animation, reducing metabolic activity to near zero while maintaining structural integrity. Protective compounds, cellular antifreeze proteins, and even DNA repair mechanisms may contribute to their longevity, allowing them to survive both desiccation and freezing. However, the question remains, how many unknown mechanisms remain at play, silently orchestrating survival where life seems impossible? The ice itself plays a critical role in this preservation. Acting as both shield and archive, it protects these organisms from radiation, chemical degradation, and physical disturbances. Layers upon layers of snow compact into ice over millennia, trapping the microorganisms in a stable environment, isolated from atmospheric changes and surface events. The deeper the ice, the older the organisms, and the more insulated they are from the outside world. In this way, Antarctica's ice is not merely a frozen wasteland. It is a time capsule, a repository of life that survived through planetary upheaval and climate extremes. Historical context adds to the enigma. Around 500 million years ago, Earth was experiencing the Cambrian explosion, a period of rapid diversification of life forms. Most life existed in oceans. Yet somehow, lineages of microbial organisms, ancestors of those discovered in ice cores, managed to endure, eventually becoming trapped beneath layers of ice as the continent's climate cooled over tens of millions of years. Could these organisms represent a direct link to ancient ecosystems, a living connection to a world long vanished from the surface? And what does their continued viability reveal about the limits of life, the adaptability of biology, and the persistence of the smallest creatures in the face of immense geological forces? Scientific study continues with painstaking care that characterizes Antarctica. Beyond the scientific, there is a human fascination with signals of the unknown. For decades, stories have circulated of unusual radio emissions detected in polar regions, sparking speculation about everything from lost civilizations to extraterrestrial influence. While mainstream science remains cautious, the mere presence of persistent, unexplained electromagnetic activity beneath the ice challenges our assumptions about this frozen continent. It reminds us that even in one of the most remote and inhospitable environments on Earth, energy flows in unexpected ways, hinting at processes that science is only beginning to understand. Yet, for all the theories, the Antarctic signals remain an open question. Are they a natural resonance of ice and rock, a subtle product of biological life, or something that defies conventional explanation entirely? Could they represent processes that existed long before humans arrived, preserved in the cold and dark, quietly pulsing beneath a continent that seems eternal and unchanging? And perhaps most compellingly, might these faint electromagnetic whispers be guiding us to discover still buried beneath kilometres of ice, awaiting the patient work of observation and interpretation? As we contemplate these silent pulses emanating from the hidden depths, it becomes clear that Antarctica is more than a frozen wilderness. It is a dynamic, energetic, and almost otherworldly environment where the ordinary rules of observation are challenged and where hidden forces, geological, chemical, and possibly biological, interact in ways we are only beginning to glimpse. From ice fish that defy conventional biology to fungi that feed on radiation, the continent continually reveals that life and energy persist in forms both subtle and extraordinary. And so the electromagnetic signals beneath Antarctica serve as yet another reminder. The continent is alive with mysteries, some recorded in faint pulses, others in hidden life forms or shifting ice, all waiting for careful observation and thoughtful interpretation. What processes continue silently beneath the ice, and what might they reveal about the history, resilience, and hidden potential of this most enigmatic of continents? The questions endure, inviting us to listen, watch, and wonder. Beneath the endless expanse of Antarctica's ice, hidden from the sun and insulated by kilometers of frozen crust, lie enigmatic bodies of water that defy expectation. These subglacial lakes, scattered across the continent like secrets preserved through deep time, remain liquid despite temperatures that would freeze ordinary water solid. They are reservoirs of mystery, silent and isolated, yet pulsating with the quiet energy of life, chemistry, and geophysical processes. To encounter one is to confront a hidden world where the rules of surface life are suspended and the ancient and the unknown intertwine beneath a frozen sky. Among the most famous of these hidden waters is Lake Vasto, one of the largest subglacial lakes on Earth, buried nearly 4 kilometers beneath the ice sheet. Discovered through satellite radar mapping in the late 20th century, Lake Vasto challenged assumptions about the limits of liquid water and life on our planet. Its surface, a mirror of ice, conceals a vast expanse of liquid beneath, stretching over 250 kilometers in length. Yet, it is not alone. Dozens of smaller subglacial lakes, some isolated, others interconnected, create a subterranean network that continues to intrigue and perplex scientists. The very existence of these lakes raises fundamental questions. How does water remain liquid under such crushing pressures and at temperatures well below the normal freezing point? The primary explanation lies in a combination of geothermal heat from the Earth's interior and the immense pressure exerted by the overlying ice, which lowers the freezing point of water. Chemical composition, including dissolved salts and minerals, further stabilizes these liquid reservoirs. Yet while these factors provide a partial answer, they do not fully account for the sheer size and stability of lakes like Vasto, nor the fact that they have remained isolated for millions of years, cut off from sunlight in the atmosphere. Scientific interest is fueled not only by the lakes' persistence, but by their potential to harbor life. In the dark, oxygen-poor waters, microbial ecosystems have adapted to extreme isolation, high pressure, and frigid temperatures. DNA fragments and microbial activity detected in ice cores suggest that these lakes are not sterile voids, but may host life forms that have evolved independently from the surface world. Could these organisms represent forms of life unlike any known on Earth, adapted to environments previously thought uninhabitable? And if life can endure in these extreme subglacial lakes, what might it reveal about the potential for life on icy worlds elsewhere, from Jupiter's moon Europa to Saturn's Enceladus? Historical context adds another layer of fascination. Antarctica has not always been the frozen desert we see today. Geological evidence indicates that tens of millions of years ago, parts of the continent were forested and temperate with rivers, lakes, and rich biodiversity. Over time, cooling climates and advancing ice sheets encased these landscapes in frozen silence. Subglacial lakes may preserve chemical and biological remnants of these ancient epochs, offering a rare window into Earth's distant past. Could sediments at the lake floors hold fossils or genetic material dating back to periods before the ice fully advanced? And might these waters have served as refuges for life during climatic extremes, acting as natural incubators in a frozen world? Exploration of these lakes is challenging. Penetrating the kilometers of ice requires advanced drilling techniques designed to prevent contamination, ensuring that the pristine waters are studied without interference. Russian expeditions to Lake Vasto and other drilling projects have revealed tantalizing glimpses of an alien-like environment complete with unusual chemical gradients, suspended sediments and traces of microorganisms, yet much remains hidden, shielded by ice, pressure, and the very remoteness that preserves their mystery. The physical characteristics of these lakes also defy expectation. Unlike surface lakes, where seasonal cycles and wind create currents and temperature variations, subglacial lakes are relatively stable, their waters insulated from dull and seasonal extremes. Some appear to be interconnected through hidden channels forming a subterranean network that may span hundreds of kilometers. Others remain completely isolated, trapped beneath ice sheets that have persisted for millions of years. Such isolation raises compelling questions about evolution, adaptation, and survival in complete darkness. How does energy circulate in these lakes? And what processes maintain the chemical and thermal balance that keeps them from freezing? Speculation occasionally reaches beyond. Conventional science's theories attempt to explain phenomena observed in radar, imaging and chemical analyses. Could geothermal hotspots or subglacial volcanic activity play a larger role than currently recognized? Might unknown mineral compositions or microbial processes create feedback systems that stabilize the water in unexpected ways? While mainstream research remains cautious, the anomalies encourage curiosity, reminding us that Antarctica is not merely a frozen wasteland, but a complex dynamic system with secrets embedded deep in its icy mantle. In contemplating these under-ice lakes, we are reminded that the continent's mysteries are as much about the persistence of life as about the forces of nature. Water flows beneath ice that has been static for millennia. Life may thrive where sunlight never penetrates, and Earth's history is encoded in sediments isolated from the world above. These lakes invite us to think beyond familiar boundaries, to imagine ecosystems preserved in darkness, and to question what other secrets the frozen continent may be hiding beneath its surface. And so, as we consider the strange liquid expanses beneath kilometers of ice, the questions remain: what life persists in these hidden waters? What histories are recorded in their depths? And what unknown processes allow these lakes to remain liquid, a defiance of everything we thought we understood about frozen landscapes?
Antarctica continues to guard its secrets.
And beneath the ice in these bizarre, enduring lakes, mysteries wait patiently for discovery. Beneath Antarctica's vast frozen surface lies a hidden and potentially volatile secret. Trapped reservoirs of methane locked away for millennia beneath layers of ice and sediment. These vast stores of gas, invisible to the naked eye yet detectable through precise geophysical instruments, represent a remarkable intersection of geology, climate history, and the unknown. In regions like West Antarctica and the East Antarctic Plateau, where ice presses down with unimaginable weight and temperatures plunge far below freezing, methane exists in a fragile state, stable yet ready to escape under the right conditions. It is a silent reminder that even in the most remote and seemingly inert corners of our planet, energy and change lie waiting. Methane is not unusual on Earth. It is a natural byproduct of microbial life, organic decay, and chemical processes within sedimentary basins. Yet, Antarctica's methane reservoirs are exceptional for their scale, isolation, and the sheer length of time they have remained locked beneath. Geological surveys and ice-penetrating radar have revealed extensive pockets of gas trapped beneath permafrost and subglacial sediments, often located in regions that were once lush landscapes millions of years ago before the continent succumbed to its current icy fate. These reservoirs are remnants of an ancient Antarctica, a world of rivers, forests, and muscular in appearance. Icefish exhibit a ghostly pore, their veins and tissues nearly transparent. At first, this seemed like a deformity or a sign of illness. Yet further studies revealed a thriving population perfectly suited to the extreme Antarctic environment. Their very existence poses a question that continues to intrigue scientists. How can an animal survive, let alone thrive, without hemoglobin in water temperatures that would inhibit normal metabolic processes? The answer lies partly in the unique conditions of Antarctic waters. Extremely cold temperatures increase oxygen solubility, allowing ice fish to absorb sufficient oxygen directly into their blood plasma, even without hemoglobin. Their hearts are unusually large and efficient, and their circulatory systems have adapted to distribute oxygen more widely. Thin, streamlined bodies reduce resistance in cold water, while a slow metabolism minimizes energy demands. These adaptations are extraordinary. Yet even with these physiological marvels, the survival of ice fish challenges the assumptions about the limits of vertebrate biology. scientific investigations have uncovered further enigmas. Icefish are not merely passive survivors. They display complex behaviors, reproduce successfully in harsh conditions, and occupy ecological niches that might seem inhospitable to life. Their blood's lack of hemoglobin, while initially a vulnerability, appears to confer advantages in cold oxygen-rich waters, reducing blood viscosity and easing circulatory strain. Yet, the evolutionary pathway that led to this extreme adaptation remains largely mysterious. How did icefish lose such a fundamental protein and still persist? Could genetic mutations alone explain such a radical divergence from the standard vertebrate blueprint? Or might other, as yet undiscovered environmental pressures have guided this unusual evolution? Historical context deepens the intrigue. Antarctica has been a land of fluctuating climates and shifting ice for millions of years. Fossil evidence suggests that ancestors of icefish lived in more temperate waters, gradually adapting to cooler conditions as glacial coverage expanded. Perhaps the loss of hemoglobin coincided with these environmental changes, a radical biological experiment that ultimately proved successful. Yet the rarity of such a trait unmatched elsewhere on the planet underscores how extreme and unusual the Antarctic ecosystem truly is. Here in the coldest waters on Earth, life does not merely endure. It reinvents itself in forms that challenge conventional understanding. The ecological role of icefish is equally compelling. They occupy a delicate balance in the Southern Ocean food web, feeding on krill and smaller fish while serving as prey for seals, penguins, and other predators. Their pale, translucent bodies render them nearly invisible in dim underwater light, a ghostly camouflage in the twilight world beneath the ice. Each movement, each survival strategy hints at a silent, ongoing dance between organism and environment. A choreography shaped over millennia by extreme conditions, scarcity, and the relentless pressures of life at the edge. Speculation occasionally arises about the broader implications of icefish adaptations. Could studying these hemoglobin-free vertebrates inform our understanding of hypoxia or low oxygen environments on other planets or moons? Might their unique circulatory and metabolic systems offer insights into human medicine, particularly for conditions where oxygen transport is compromised? And more philosophically, what does the existence of such creatures reveal about the flexibility of life itself? The capacity to rewrite rules we once thought universal, adapting to conditions that would seem utterly inhospitable. Even today, the mysteries of icefish remain profound. Scientists continue to explore their physiology, genetics, and behavior, uncovering new details about how they navigate oxygen scarcity, reproduce in freezing waters, and maintain cellular function under extreme thermal stress. Yet, for all that is known, questions abound. Why has this adaptation arisen only in Antarctic waters? How might icefish respond to changing ocean temperatures or shifting currents as the continent's ice sheets fluctuate? Could other similarly radical adaptations exist in yet unexplored regions beneath ice shelves or in deep subglacial lakes waiting to be discovered? As we consider the ghostly forms of icefish gliding through the Antarctic twilight, it becomes clear that life in this frozen realm is not passive or static. From fungi that feed on radiation to icefish without hemoglobin, Antarctica presents a continuum of evolutionary ingenuity, a testament to the capacity of life to persist under conditions that seem at first glance impossible. These creatures are not merely survivors. They are living symbols of resilience, adaptation, and the mysterious interplay between environment and biology. In the end, the icefish invites us to reflect on the unseen worlds beneath the ice, the hidden adaptations that enable life to thrive in extreme isolation, and the ongoing questions that Antarctica poses to science. How does life redefine itself when confronted with relentless cold, scarce resources, and the absence of biological constants we once thought essential? And as researchers continue to probe the depths, one question persists. What other astonishing adaptations lie hidden beneath the frozen waters? silently rewriting the rules of survival in this remote and enigmatic continent. Beneath the frigid waters where ice fish glide silently, Antarctica's frozen interior conceals another layer of mystery, one that hums with an invisible, almost imperceptible energy. Far beneath the continental ice sheet, stretching kilometers deep, instruments have detected electromagnetic signals that seem to originate from regions untouched by human hands, hidden in a world of ice, rock, and darkness. These signals are subtle yet persistent, pulsing faintly through the ice as if the continent itself were whispering secrets across millennia. Antarctica is not a uniform sheet of frozen silence. Its ice is dynamic, layered with millennia of snowfall, compressed into dense strata, interspersed with pockets of liquid water, mineral-rich sediments, and traces of ancient organic material. It is within this frozen labyrinth that researchers first began noticing anomalies in electromagnetic readings, signals that defied simple explanation. Unlike the predictable responses from geothermal or tectonic activity, these emissions appeared sporadic, sometimes rhythmic, and occasionally surprisingly strong, hinting at processes occurring far below the surface where human observation is limited. Initial studies attributed the phenomenon to natural causes. Antarctica's geology is complex, with hidden mountain ranges, subglacial lakes, and volcanic activity providing plausible sources for unusual electromagnetic behavior. The Gambutsif Mountains, buried beneath kilometers of ice, and active geothermal zones beneath Marie Byrd Land could generate localized magnetic fluctuations. But even when accounting for these known factors, scientists could not fully explain the pattern, frequency, or intensity of the signals. Some pulses seem to travel along paths that suggest an organized source rather than random geological interference. Historical context deepens the intrigue. Electromagnetic anomalies have long been associated with unexplained natural events elsewhere, from auroral activity near the poles to deep earth tremors. In Antarctica, the frozen landscape amplifies these phenomena, acting as both a barrier and a conduit, reflecting and channeling energy in ways that are not yet fully understood. The continent's ice, dense yet fractured in places, may guide electrical currents over vast distances, creating resonances that can be detected on the surface or by airborne instruments. Yet, even with modern mapping techniques and deep ice drilling, the precise origins of these signals remain elusive. Some researchers have speculated that subglacial lakes or pockets of mineralized water could play a role. As ions move through isolated aquatic systems beneath the ice, they may create weak but detectable electromagnetic fields. Alternatively, unusual rock formations coupled with stresses from shifting ice could generate piezoelectric effects. Currents created by pressure induce deformations in crystalline structures. While these explanations are plausible, they do not fully account for the variability and persistence of the signals, leaving room for deeper questions. Intriguingly, the signals sometimes coincide with areas of extraordinary biological activity. Subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vito and Lake Willins, host microbial life that survives in complete darkness, isolated for millions of years. Could biological processes themselves contribute, however subtly, to electromagnetic phenomena? While speculative, the idea that life adapted to extreme isolation and capable of metabolizing unusual energy sources might leave a faint signature in the electromagnetic spectrum is tantalizing. It suggests a hidden intersection between biology and geology, a realm where the frozen and the living intertwine in ways that remain largely unexplored. Satellite surveys and airborne radar have expanded the scope of observation, revealing vast uncharted subglacial features, long linear structures, vast depressions, and anomalies in ice thickness sometimes correlate with areas producing unusual electromagnetic readings. Could these patterns hint at previously unknown geological processes? Or might they point to something more enigmatic? An unknown energy source, a subglacial chemical reaction, or even a relic of ancient processes preserved beneath the ice for millions of years? Such questions invite curiosity but resist simple answers, maintaining the subtle, persistent sense of mystery. Yet each discovery also deepens the mystery. What circumstances repeated over millennia have allowed these animals to perish and remain preserved so far from their natural habitat? Speculative interpretations extend beyond the purely biological. Could some mummified seals be indicators of previously unknown glacial pathways or inland seas that existed in Antarctica's more temperate past? Might shifts in ice coverage, subglacial topography, or even geothermal hotspots have created fleeting environments where marine mammals ventured far from traditional ranges? And in considering the sheer improbability of such journeys, could other less obvious forces, wind patterns, ice fractures, or unusual behavioral drives have guided these creatures inland, leaving behind a record that challenges our assumptions about the frozen continent? The phenomenon also invites reflection on Antarctica itself, a land that seems immutable yet continually reshapes the limits of life. Here in the interior, far from human habitation or observation, nature has preserved its record with startling clarity. Each mummified seal is both a testament to resilience and a silent riddle, encapsulating questions about adaptation, survival, and the interplay between life and the extreme environment. They speak to the hidden histories of the continent, hinting at ecological and climatic dynamics that remain only partially understood, and reminding us that Antarctica is as much a repository of secrets as it is a landscape of extremes.
As we contemplate these mummified seals, questions inevitably arise.
What motivated these animals to travel such extraordinary distances?
How did they survive long enough to reach these inland locations?
And why were their remains preserved with such precision? Could there be other species similarly transported and preserved, awaiting discovery beneath the ice or within the desolate interior? Each specimen challenges our understanding, inviting us to reconsider not only the behavior of animals, but the broader, often unseen forces shaping life in the frozen heart of the world. In the end, these mummified seals are our reminder that Antarctica is a continent of paradoxes. At once lifeless and teeming, static and dynamic, barren and yet capable of preserving vivid traces of the past. Far from the coasts and the familiar ice shelves, they lie as enduring enigmas, urging us to explore, question, and marvel at the hidden stories of a land that continues to defy expectation, and to ask what other secrets might still lie, frozen yet intact, in the vast interior of the southernmost continent. From the silent, desolate plains where mummified seals lie preserved, we now turn to a world even smaller, yet equally extraordinary, thriving in the hidden niches of Antarctica, fungi that appear to feed on radiation. In a continent defined by extremes where temperatures plunge well below freezing, winds whip relentlessly across barren ice fields, and sunlight can vanish for months at a time. Life persists in forms that defy conventional expectations. Among these, certain fungi have captured the imagination of scientists for their uncanny ability to harness radiation, turning what is normally a destructive force into a source of sustenance. These remarkable organisms were first identified in the shadows of Antarctic research stations and the icy surfaces surrounding them. Scientists examining surfaces of rocks, soil, and even man-made structures discovered fungal colonies that seemed unusually resilient. Unlike most life forms which are damaged or killed by radiation exposure, these fungi appear to thrive, their growth enhanced, in environments with elevated levels of ionizing radiation. Microscopic studies reveal dense concentrations of melanin in their cells, a pigment that in humans protects against ultraviolet light. But in these fungi seems to act as a bioenergetic medium, converting radiation into chemical energy. Laboratory experiments have confirmed what field observations suggested. These fungi are capable of metabolizing radiation, a phenomenon sometimes called radiotropism. When exposed to radioactive sources, colonies extend toward the radiation, increasing in mass and vigor. In Antarctica, this adaptation may allow them to survive in areas where nutrients are scarce, where organic matter is frozen or buried under ice, and where conventional food chains cannot sustain life. But the presence of such organisms in a place as remote and extreme as the southernmost continent prompts questions that extend beyond biology.
How did such life evolve in a landscape that is for most of the year hostile to survival?
Historical research provides some context. Antarctica has not always been a frozen desert. Millions of years ago, during warmer periods, the continent hosted forests, rivers, and diverse ecosystems. Fungi, known for their remarkable adaptability, may have persisted through these environmental transitions, retreating to microhabitats where ice, rock crevices, and geothermal warmth offered refuge. Yet, even with this evolutionary perspective, the capacity to harness radiation remains extraordinary. In a place where sunlight is limited for months, where nutrients are sparse, and where the soil itself is often mineral-rich but biologically poor, radiation may have become an unconventional source of energy, a lifeline in a landscape otherwise defined by scarcity. Field observations hint at further mysteries. These fungi are not evenly distributed. They appear in specific locations, often associated with rocks, abandoned research facilities, or areas exposed to naturally occurring radioactive minerals. Could the distribution reflect microenvironments that concentrate energy, moisture, or mineral nutrients? Or might the fungi themselves influence their surroundings, subtly altering local chemistry to enhance survival? Some colonies seem to exist in near-total isolation, growing on surfaces that are otherwise inhospitable, raising questions about how life can endure in Antarctica's most extreme niches. Speculative considerations have also emerged. If fungi can metabolize radiation, what other unseen adaptations might exist beneath the ice or within rocks and subglacial lakes? Could there be ecosystems operating on principles entirely unfamiliar to terrestrial biology, sustained not by sunlight or conventional nutrients, but by energy sources invisible to the human eye? And in a broader sense, what does this tell us about life's resilience and its ability to exploit the most improbable resources in the harshest environments on Earth? These fungi also resonate with a profound philosophical implication. In Antarctica, even in the most desolate regions, life finds a way to persist. The existence of radiation-feeding fungi challenges our perception of energy, nutrition, and survival. They are reminders that the biological world is far more inventive than we often assume, capable of transforming apparent hazards into sustenance and turning a hostile environment into a cradle for extraordinary adaptations. Each colony is both a scientific marvel and a subtle enigma, prompting questions about limits, resilience, and the hidden dynamics of Antarctic ecosystems. Recent research has suggested connections between these fungi and other extreme organisms. Some radiofungi are related to species found in the high Arctic, deep underground, or even in spaceflight experiments, hinting at a common thread in the evolution of radiation tolerance. In Antarctica, where environmental pressures are unparalleled, these fungi may represent one of the most refined examples of survival at the intersection of energy, scarcity, and environmental extremity. Yet the mysteries remain. Why these specific fungi and not others? How widespread are they beneath the ice in subglacial lakes or within rocks far from human observation? What unknown mechanisms might enhance their ability to convert radiation into life-sustaining energy? As we reflect on these organisms, it becomes clear that Antarctica's frozen expanse is not merely a void, but a laboratory of evolution, preserving and fostering life forms that challenge our understanding. From mummified seals stranded inland to fungi that thrive on radiation, the continent reveals a continuum of adaptation and survival, a tapestry of mysteries woven into ice, rock, and wind. The radiofungi are more than biological curiosities. They are emblematic of the unexpected ingenuity of life, a reminder that even in isolation and extreme cold, nature finds a path forward. And so as we consider these remarkable fungi, one question lingers. What other extraordinary life forms lie hidden beneath the ice in crevices, subglacial lakes, or mineral-rich rocks quietly defying the harshest conditions and operating by rules we have yet to understand? Antarctica, in its stark silence and frozen majesty, continues to invite inquiry, compelling us to explore not only its surface, but the hidden life that thrives in ways that remain largely unseen, challenging our perception of what is possible on this remote and mysterious continent. From the silent persistence of fungi that feed on radiation, we shift now to the frigid waters beneath Antarctica's icy expanse, where life has adapted in ways that seem to defy the very principles of biology. In the shadowy depths of the Southern Ocean, beneath floating ice shelves and through channels carved by glaciers, a remarkable creature navigates water so cold that ordinary life would struggle to survive: the ice fish. These fish possess a singular, almost unimaginable adaptation. They lack hemoglobin, the protein that carries oxygen in virtually every other vertebrate on Earth. The first encounters with ice fish date back to early 20th century Antarctic expeditions, when researchers, netting specimens in near-freezing waters, noted their unusually pale, almost translucent bodies.
Unlike conventional fish, which are rich in red blood and
single entity, but a series of connected sections historically labeled Larsen A, B, and C. Each has its own history of formation, growth, and in the case of Larsen A and B, sudden collapse. In 1995, Larsen A disintegrated unexpectedly, breaking apart into icebergs that drifted into the wet sea. Then in 2002, Larsen B experienced an even more dramatic collapse. A section roughly the size of Rhode Island fractured and vanished over mere weeks. Satellite images captured the scene in stark, haunting detail. A continent that seemed eternal, yet capable of sudden transformation, reshaping itself before the world's eyes. Scientists have long studied these events, attributing them largely to rising temperatures and the warming of surrounding oceans. Surface melting caused by persistent heat waves and sunlight penetration weakens the ice. From above, while warming waters erode the ice shelves from below, structural weaknesses develop along crevasses and fractures, eventually propagating to a catastrophic failure. Yet the sheer speed and scale of the collapses continue to puzzle researchers. How could sections of ice hundreds of meters thick, anchored for millennia, disintegrate so rapidly? What unseen forces act in these moments, amplifying the fragility of ice into sudden motion and fragmentation? The story of Larsen B, in particular, highlights the unexpected. Its collapse was not gradual, but almost instantaneous on a geological timescale. Within a matter of weeks, vast swathes of ice crumbled into the sea, producing towering icebergs and sending ripples through global ocean currents. Historical data shows that the ice shelf had persisted for thousands of years, even as the climate slowly shifted. The suddenness raises questions about hidden vulnerabilities, subtle fractures, pressurized meltwater channels, or anomalies in the ice's internal structure that may have gone unnoticed. Could there be a tipping point, an invisible threshold in the ice's integrity beyond which collapse becomes inevitable and unstoppable? The collapses also invite a deeper, more speculative consideration of Antarctica's changing landscape. Larsen Ice Shelf sits at the intersection of atmosphere, ocean, and ice, and its sudden disintegration may hint at interactions not fully understood. Some researchers propose that subglacial water movement beneath the ice shelf could accelerate fracturing. Others suggest that thermal anomalies, perhaps linked to volcanic activity or geothermal heat, may weaken the base, making the ice more susceptible to surface melting. The convergence of these factors, some measurable, others hidden, creates a complex dynamic system that challenges straightforward prediction. Historical observations add further context. Early explorers in the 19th and early 20th centuries documented ice cliffs and floating ice shelves. Noting their apparent permanence, maps and aerial photographs of the mid-10th century reinforced this perception. The shelves seemed stable, immovable, part of a timeless frozen coastline. Yet, modern satellite imagery reveals that Antarctica is far from static. The collapses of Larsen A and B are part of a broader narrative. Glaciers accelerating toward the sea, subglacial lakes draining, and ice shelves thinning, an intricate interplay of forces both visible and hidden. Could similar processes be quietly at work beneath seemingly stable ice elsewhere, waiting for the right conditions to trigger sudden dramatic change? The phenomenon also underscores the delicate balance of Antarctica's ecosystems. Ice shelves act as barriers, restraining glaciers from flowing too rapidly into the ocean. When they collapse, glaciers accelerate, sea levels rise, and the entire polar system adjusts in response. Yet these consequences, though measurable, only hint at the unseen mechanics of collapse itself. The hidden stresses, the sudden propagation of cracks, the shifting equilibrium between ice and ocean. Could the internal architecture of these ice shelves, layers of snow compressed over centuries,
Melt water trapped in fissures, hidden ridges in the bedrock beneath,
hold secrets that might help predict or explain their sudden disintegration? Speculative considerations arise from the dramatic nature of these collapses. Some scientists ponder whether even minor changes in ocean currents or air temperature could serve as triggers, tipping a fragile equilibrium into chaos. Others note that the sheer geometry of ice shelves, the way fractures intersect, the distribution of stress across vast areas might amplify instability in ways that are difficult to model. There is a haunting beauty to this idea. Ice that has persisted for millennia can, under the right conditions, transform almost instantaneously. A reminder that even the most seemingly permanent natural structures are subject to forces beyond our control. As we reflect on the collapse of Larsen Ice Shelf, we confront both the known and the unknown. We understand the role of warming temperatures, the mechanics of fracturing ice, and the impact on global systems. Yet, the exact interplay of forces that allowed these immense sections to crumble remains a mystery. What thresholds exist within the ice? How do hidden water channels, internal stress patterns, and environmental fluctuations combine to create moments of dramatic transformation? And what other regions of Antarctica might be silently approaching similar tipping points, their collapse waiting to be observed for the first time? The disintegration of Larsen A and B reminds us that Antarctica, for all its remoteness and seeming permanence, is a land of change capable of sudden awe-inspiring transformation. The ice is not simply a passive observer of climate. It is an active participant in a dynamic, interconnected system. And as we watch its edges from orbit, we are left to wonder what other secrets, unseen and unmeasured, lie beneath the frozen expanse, shaping a continent that continues to challenge our understanding of nature's power. From the dramatic collapse of ice shelves at the continent's edge, we now turn to the frozen heart of Antarctica, far from the roaring seas and fractured cliffs, to a phenomenon that has confounded scientists and explorers alike. The discovery of mummified seals preserved not along the coastline where life is expected to flourish, but deep inland hundreds of kilometers from the nearest ocean. Here in the cold, arid interior of the continent, where temperatures plummet and winds sweep relentlessly across barren plains of ice and rock, these enigmatic remains lie as silent witnesses to events both extraordinary and mysterious. The first reports of inland mummified seals emerged from aerial surveys and field expeditions, startling researchers accustomed to encountering these animals along coastal regions or on drifting ice shelves. Unlike typical carcasses that succumb quickly to predators or decay, these seals were astonishingly well preserved, their fur, skin, and skeletal structures intact despite exposure to the elements for unknown lengths of time. The extreme cold and low humidity of Antarctica's interior combined with desiccating katabatic winds, create natural mummification conditions. Yet the very presence of these animals so far from their marine habitat raises profound questions about how and why they arrived here in the first place. Mainstream explanations suggest that the seals may have wandered inland, disoriented by environmental pressures, storms, or changes in sea ice extent, ultimately succumbing in inhospitable regions far from the ocean. In this scenario, strong katabatic winds and harsh terrain would preserve their remains as natural mummies. However, this explanation, while plausible, leaves many details unexplained. How did relatively slow-moving seals traverse vast distances over frozen plains without succumbing sooner to cold, hunger, or exhaustion? Why do these mummified specimens appear in isolated clusters, often in regions seemingly impossible to navigate given their known behaviors and physiology? Historical accounts add layers to the mystery. Early Antarctic explorers occasionally noted inland sightings of animal tracks or skeletal remains far from the coast, often dismissed as anomalies or errors of observation. Only with systematic surveys and modern imaging technology has the pattern become undeniable. Seals far from the ocean preserved in remarkable detail, hinting at ecological or environmental processes that are poorly understood. Could these mummified seals provide clues not only to animal behavior, but to Antarctica's historical climate and ice dynamics? Might they reflect a time when ice coverage, glacial movements, or inland waterways allowed or forced animals to penetrate deep into the continent? Some scientists have proposed that extreme climatic events could have played a role. Shifts in sea ice patterns, sudden glacial surges, or catastrophic storms could have driven seals far inland where they perished in locations now considered inhospitable. Others speculate about the role of inland lakes, subglacial rivers, or temporary meltwater channels, which may have offered brief corridors through which animals could travel. Yet, even with these possibilities, the distances involved, sometimes hundreds of kilometers from open water, remain difficult to reconcile with our understanding of seal behavior and endurance. Intriguingly, the preservation of these animals allows for extraordinary scientific study. Mummified seals serve as frozen time capsules, retaining isotopic, chemical, and biological information that can illuminate historical ocean temperatures, diet, migration patterns, and even interactions with the ice and climate over centuries or millennia. Some specimens have been radiocarbonated to hundreds or even thousands of years ago, suggesting that this inland mummification is not a recent phenomenon, but a recurring, if rare, feature of Antarctica's ecological history. The patterns also provoke more speculative questions. Could variations in magnetic fields, gravitational anomalies, or chemical deposits subtly influence the way ice fractures and refreezes? While these ideas remain unproven, the regularity and scale of the hexagons demand attention. Laboratory studies provide partial insight. Ice under stress can crack in polygonal patterns, much like mud drying in summer ponds or basalt columns forming in cooled lava flows. The physics is familiar. Tension spreads evenly. Fractures propagate along lines of least resistance and polygons emerge naturally. Yet the Antarctic patterns exceed these analogies in both size and persistence, suggesting additional variables at play. Could the combination of extreme cold, immense pressure from overlying ice, and hidden topographical variations create conditions for unusually large and stable hexagonal formations? Beyond the scientific implications, the visual impact of these patterns is profound. From orbit, the ice appears almost deliberately sculpted, a tessellated landscape frozen in time. The geometry invites reflection on the hidden order within nature, a reminder that even the most barren, inhospitable regions are capable of producing astonishingly structured phenomena. The interplay of light and shadow enhances the effect as low-angle sunlight casts long lines along, fracture edges emphasizing the precision of the forms. To the casual observer, it can appear almost architectural, yet it is the result of natural forces acting over millennia. In considering these formations, one cannot ignore their symbolic resonance. Hexagons are found throughout nature, from honeycombs to basalt columns, wherever efficiency and stability are favored. In Antarctica, they may signify a frozen equilibrium, a compromise between the ice above and the forces beneath, maintained across generations of glaciers. Yet, the precise conditions required, combined with the continent's remoteness, make them difficult to study and even harder to fully understand. Could there be patterns even more intricate, hidden beneath layers of snow or obscured by shifting ice, awaiting discovery by future satellites or daring explorers? As we observe these hexagonal ice patterns from orbit, questions abound. What unseen forces guide the formation of these geometrically precise structures? Are they the result of simple physics amplified by Antarctic extremes, or do they hint at deeper hidden processes shaping the continent? Could they be clues to subglacial networks, ancient terrain, or geothermal phenomena that remain invisible to the naked eye? Antarctica continues to reveal its mysteries in forms both subtle and spectacular, reminding us that even the ice itself can carry secrets we are only beginning to perceive. From the mesmerizing regularity of hexagonal ice patterns that stretch across Antarctica's frozen surface, we now descend beneath the ice into a world hidden from view, where the landscape itself hints at enigmas both ancient and profound. Satellite imaging and ice-penetrating radar have revealed a series of bizarre, crater-like structures buried under kilometres of ice, circular depressions and rings that appear to defy conventional glaciological explanation. These formations, some stretching several kilometres across, punctuate the white expanse like silent witnesses to events long past, frozen in time and obscured from the eyes of human explorers. The first indications of these unusual formations emerged from radar surveys conducted to map the continent's subglacial topography. Scientists expected to find mountain ranges,
valleys, and the usual undulations of the bedrock.
Instead, they detected circular structures with remarkable symmetry, concentric ridges, and unexpected depth. In some cases, the depressions seemed isolated. In others, they appeared in clusters, forming patterns that suggested either geological coincidence or the imprint of extraordinary forces. Could these craters be the scars of ancient meteorite impacts preserved beneath ice for millions of years? Or are they the product of volcanic or tectonic activity sculpted and later concealed by shifting ice sheets? The possibility of extraterrestrial influence has long fascinated researchers and the public alike. Antarctica, with its vast, undisturbed surfaces, is uniquely capable of preserving impact. Sites that would have eroded elsewhere, some of these crater-like features bear striking resemblance to confirmed impact structures on other continents, prompting questions about whether large meteors struck the frozen continent during periods when it was ice-free. Yet, definitive proof remains elusive. Drilling to the bedrock is extraordinarily difficult, and the ice itself complicates direct observation. Could these craters represent a record of celestial events from a distant past, hidden beneath layers of ice that have accumulated over millions of years? Geological explanations offer alternative perspectives. Antarctica is a continent of extremes with ancient bedrock, volcanic intrusions and shifting tectonic plates, creating complex subsurface landscapes. Some crater-like formations may result from volcanic collapse, where magma chambers beneath the surface emptied and caused the overlying rock and ice to subside. Others could be subglacial lakes or meltwater channels that over time carved circular depressions. Yet even in this context, the scale and precision of some craters remain puzzling. How could natural processes produce such well-defined circular shapes across areas that appear geologically uniform on the surface? Historical surveys provide a broader context for these enigmas. During the early and mid-20th century, exploratory expeditions occasionally reported unusual circular depressions or patterns in aerial photographs of coastal and inland regions. At the time, these features were often dismissed as optical illusions or glacial distortions. Only with modern radar mapping and satellite imagery has their true extent and regularity been revealed, transforming anecdotal observations into a compelling scientific puzzle. Some researchers suggest that these craters could represent the remnants of Antarctica's ancient ice-free periods when the landscape was exposed to wind, water, and meteorite bombardment, then later concealed beneath advancing ice sheets. Yet even conventional explanations leave room for wonder. Several of the largest structures lie in regions with no known volcanic or tectonic activity, raising questions about how such depressions could form and remain so clearly defined over millions of years. Could unknown subglacial processes such as pressurized water flows or ice movement along hidden fault lines sculpt these rings into their distinctive forms? And in areas where multiple craters cluster, is there a pattern hinting at an extraordinary event or simply an improbable coincidence of geological forces? The mystery deepens when we consider the potential for interaction with other unusual Antarctic phenomena. Some crater-like structures coincide with regions of gravitational anomalies, magnetic irregularities, or geothermal hotspots as detected by recent surveys. Could these features be interconnected, part of a broader system of hidden energy or material movement beneath the ice? Or are the correlations purely coincidental, the product of complex variables that scientists have only begun to quantify? The answers remain elusive, encouraging both cautious analysis and imaginative inquiry. Speculative theories abound. Some propose that these structures may be remnants of ancient civilizations long erased by ice, their traces preserved as subtle depressions in the bedrock. Others suggest that they could be the product of unknown natural forces, perhaps related to geothermal activity, hidden volcanic systems, or even subterranean fluid dynamics that operate on scales invisible to conventional observation. While mainstream science prioritizes evidence-based explanations, the sheer strangeness of these formations demands acknowledgement. Antarctica continues to challenge our assumptions, revealing that the unseen world beneath its ice may be far stranger than what lies above. As we observe these crater-like structures, a profound sense of scale and time emerges. These are formations that predate human history, sculpted over millions of years, shaped by forces both violent and subtle. They remind us that Antarctica is not merely a frozen desert, but a layered archive preserving stories of celestial impacts, geological upheavals, and hidden waters. The ice may seem static, unyielding, yet beneath its surface a complex and mysterious landscape awaits discovery. Its contours and patterns hinting at events and processes we are only beginning to comprehend. In contemplating these craters, one cannot help but wonder what other features lie hidden beneath the kilome of ice, invisible yet measurable by the tools of modern science. Could some of these formations preserve evidence of events so ancient they predate known civilizations, or processes so rare they challenge our understanding of geology and planetary science? Antarctica once again reminds us that the continent's mysteries are not confined to its surface, and that even beneath the ice, the Earth's story is far from fully told. From the hidden craters etched beneath Antarctica's ice, our journey now rises to the continent's edge, where the frozen world meets the Southern Ocean in vast floating platforms of ice. Among these, the Larsen Ice Shelf has long stood as one of the continent's most dramatic and fragile features, a sprawling expanse of ice hundreds of meters thick, stretching along the eastern coast of the Antarctic Peninsula. Viewed from satellite or from above the sea, it is a landscape of jagged fractures, towering ice cliffs and immense frozen plains. Seemingly impervious, yet in recent decades, astonishingly vulnerable. The Larsen Ice Shelf is not on
Earth? The answers remain just beyond reach, leaving us to wonder as the ice silently guards its ancient past, what other marvels Antarctica still conceals.
From the silent testimony of Antarctica's giant prehistoric penguins, whose fossils tell of a warmer, thriving continent, our exploration now shifts toward a phenomenon far less tangible: yet equally enigmatic, subtle anomalies in the very pole of gravity across the ice. For decades, scientists have used gravimeters, satellite observations, and ice-penetrating radar to measure Antarctica's mass, density, and underlying structures. In doing so, they have discovered regions where gravity fluctuates in ways that defy immediate explanation. Small but consistent deviations that raise profound questions about what lies beneath the frozen surface. The first hints of these anomalies emerged from satellite missions in the early 21st century, including the Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment GRACE and its successor missions. Researchers observed that certain areas of East and West Antarctica registered gravitational values slightly higher or lower than predicted given the known thickness and distribution of ice. These measurements, while subtle, are remarkably precise and have been confirmed by multiple independent surveys. At first, the scientific consensus attributed them to variations in ice density, subglacial lakes, or hidden mountain ranges. Yet some anomalies persist in regions where geological and hydrological explanations seem insufficient, suggesting that the continent harbors mysteries still beyond our understanding. The regions exhibiting these fluctuations often overlap with areas already known for unusual features. For example, beneath Wilkes Land lies a massive crust structure hinted at by radar and gravity studies, potentially formed by an ancient impact or unusual tectonic processes. Could such formations account for all observed anomalies, or do they only provide part of the explanation? And in other areas, gravimeters detect transient shifts that seem to fluctuate slightly over time, as if the ice itself or something within it is subtly moving, redistributing mass in ways that remain invisible to conventional observation. The implications of these gravitational irregularities are both scientific and philosophical. Gravity is among the most fundamental forces of nature, governing motion, orbits, and tides. To detect unexpected variations is to confront the limits of our understanding, particularly on a continent as remote and largely inaccessible as Antarctica. Could these anomalies be purely geological, caused by differences in rock density, subglacial magma chambers, or hidden mountain chains? Or might they hint at processes we have yet to identify, forces operating at scales or speeds that escape current models? Historical context deepens the intrigue. Explorers in the early 20th century occasionally reported unusual sensations on sleds or aircraft, descriptions later attributed to local topography or instrumentation error. Yet modern instruments calibrated with extraordinary precision confirm that Antarctica's gravity is subtly irregular in ways that cannot be fully accounted for by ice thickness or known
geological structures alone. Could these regions,
long undisturbed by human interference, conceal large subglacial features from volcanic intrusions to massive caverns or channels whose mass and density distort gravity in detectable ways? Some researchers speculate that these fluctuations might correlate with known anomalies in magnetic fields, seismic activity, or ice flow dynamics. In Wilkes Land, for instance, gravity deviations coincide with a magnetic signature that has puzzled scientists for decades. Could these two phenomena be linked, hinting at a hidden structure beneath kilometres of ice? The possibilities range from the conventional tectonic uplift, ice compression, subglacial lakes to the more extraordinary, a buried impact crater of planetary proportions, or an ancient geological feature whose origin predates human civilization. The methodology itself contributes to the mystery. Gravity is measured using exquisitely sensitive devices that can detect changes in mass equivalent to a fraction of a gram over a square kilometre. The instruments detect both permanent variations and subtle shifts over time, some of which appear to oscillate with seasonal ice melt or flow patterns. Yet in certain areas, readings defy explanation. Small persistent depressions or elevations in gravitational pull without any corresponding surface features, as if the ice conceals structures, voids or materials that have yet to be directly observed. Could these be remnants of Antarctica's ancient landscape before the Ice Age? or signs of dynamic processes still occurring beneath the surface? Speculative theories naturally arise. Could subglacial water channels, reservoirs of methane, or even ancient volcanic activity create such effects? Might dense mineral deposits or unusual rock formations distort gravity subtly over vast areas? Some fringe proposals suggest more exotic possibilities, hinting at previously unknown natural phenomena. Though mainstream science urges caution, the only certainty is that the anomalies exist and that the frozen continent continues to challenge our ability to fully comprehend its hidden dynamics. In reflecting on these gravitational fluctuations, one cannot ignore the sense of scale and time involved. We are not observing small transient phenomena, but patterns that span hundreds of kilometers shaped over millions of years. They remind us that Antarctica is a continent of extremes, not only in temperature and isolation, but also in the hidden forces that sculpt it. Gravity, usually taken as uniform and constant, here exhibits subtle irregularities that invite further exploration, testing both our instruments and our understanding of planetary physics. As we consider these anomalies, questions abound. What lies beneath the ice that shifts gravity without leaving visible traces? Are these fluctuations a clue to hidden mountain ranges, liquid reservoirs, or volcanic activity? Could they even hint at processes as yet unknown to science? Silent yet profound, reshaping the continent beneath our feet. The mysteries persist, waiting for further exploration, leaving Antarctica once again as a land where observation and imagination meet, and where even the fundamental forces of nature hold secrets we are only beginning to uncover. From the subtle distortions in Antarctica's gravitational field, which hint at hidden structures and unseen forces beneath the ice, our gaze now turns to the surface, where a different kind of mystery reveals itself. Hexagonal ice patterns visible from the vantage point of orbiting satellites. Across vast, seemingly featureless stretches of the frozen continent, scientists have observed geometric formations striking in their regularity and scale. These patterns, repeating like natural tessellations, shimmer across the white expanse, presenting a visual puzzle that has captured the attention of researchers
and satellite analysts alike.
The first reports emerged in high-resolution satellite imagery where the ice appeared to fracture and refreeze in polygons ranging from tens to
hundreds of meters across.
Unlike cracks or crevasses formed by ordinary glacial flow, these formations exhibit striking symmetry, often approximating near-perfect hexagons. The sheer consistency of these shapes across remote regions of Antarctica suggests processes beyond ordinary ice dynamics, prompting questions about the forces capable of shaping them. Could these patterns be a surface manifestation of geological or subglacial activity? Frozen signatures of forces acting invisibly below. Mainstream explanations link hexagonal patterns to natural stress relief in ice sheets. As glaciers expand, contract, or shift over uneven terrain, the surface ice can fracture in ways that minimize tension, occasionally forming regular geometric shapes, thermal contraction. Where extreme temperature fluctuations cause ice to crack is another contributing factor. Yet even when modeled in laboratories, the precise scale and repetition of these hexagons over vast areas remain difficult to replicate, leaving room for intrigue. How does ice, a seemingly passive material, organize itself into such consistent, repeating structures over hundreds of meters? Historical context adds a layer of fascination. Polar explorers in the early 20th century occasionally noted unusual surface formations in their journals, describing patterned ice and honeycomb structures along remote coasts. Lacking modern imaging, these observations were anecdotal, often dismissed as optical illusions or seasonal anomalies. Satellite technology has now confirmed that such formations are far more widespread and persistent than once imagined. The patterns are not fleeting. Some persist through seasons while others evolve slowly over years, hinting at ongoing processes beneath or within the ice itself. Some researchers speculate that subglacial activity may play a role. Hidden lakes, channels, or flowing water beneath kilometers of ice could subtly influence surface tension, causing the ice above to fracture along lines of stress that produce hexagonal patterns. Variations in subglacial rock density, thermal heat sources, or even ancient buried structures could also contribute to this phenomenon. Could the patterns be visual echoes of processes taking place deep below where ice, water, and rock interact in ways we cannot fully observe? Adding to the mystery, these hexagonal formations often appear in regions with little apparent surface disturbance. Some areas are remote, far from known volcanic activity or tectonic shifts, and yet the patterns persist.
Might we be witnessing a slow dialogue between ice and the forces beneath?
Geothermal heat, subglacial currents, or previously undetected ridges shaping the ice above. Environment amplifies the intrigue. Wind-blown ice slowly moves these fragments across the continent, sometimes grinding them against rock or snow, polishing their surfaces or concentrating them in vast fields. In some regions, meteorites appear clustered in strange, almost geometric patterns as if guided by invisible forces beneath the ice. Scientists attribute much of this to the flow of glaciers over subglacial obstacles, but the sheer scale and consistency of certain accumulations continue to invite speculation. Are we seeing simply the hand of ice and time? Or could there be processes still not fully understood guiding these stones into their resting places? Historical context deepens the fascination. The Yamato meteorites discovered in East Antarctica included some of the oldest known samples of extraterrestrial material, dating back over 4 billion years. System. Their presence on Earth raises questions about the paths these objects have traveled, the cosmic events that sent them hurtling through space, and the forces that delivered them to the most inhospitable continent on our planet. Could Antarctica's ice be a cosmic collector, silently gathering relics of our solar system over eons, preserving them for discovery by those who dare to look? The stories these meteorites tell are not limited to science. Some fragments show signs of melting and deformation consistent with atmospheric entry, while others contain shock veins hinting at violent collisions on distant planets or moons. A few have chemical compositions so unusual that they challenge existing models of planetary formation, suggesting that the solar system may be more diverse and mysterious than previously imagined. Could fragments that appear ordinary at first glance harbor evidence of unknown planetary processes, or even in speculative terms of prebiotic chemistry, that might hint at life beyond Earth? Despite extensive study, Antarctica's meteorites continue to surprise. New discoveries are made every season, sometimes in regions thought to be thoroughly explored. In addition to the familiar iron and stony meteorites, rare aeondrites and fragments with unusual isotopic ratios are found, provoking questions about where they came from, how they traveled, and why they ended up precisely where they did. The frozen continent, silent and immutable in its whiteness, becomes a stage for cosmic history, where the passage of millennia and the drift of glaciers converge to reveal fragments of worlds far beyond our own. Speculation also extends to their potential connection with Earth's history. Could meteorite impacts, long forgotten, have influenced climate or even contributed to mass extinctions? Some researchers explore whether chemical compounds delivered by these extraterrestrial rocks might have seeded early microbial life, linking the skies above to the hidden microbial ecosystems discovered beneath Antarctica's ice. If life or the ingredients for it could survive the cold vacuum of space and then endure in isolation beneath the ice, what does this suggest about the potential for life elsewhere in the universe? As we examine these dark stones against a backdrop of white ice, one cannot help but feel a profound sense of time and scale. Each meteorite is a messenger traversing billions of years and vast distances, arriving in a land where human presence is fleeting and yet leaving clues for those who seek them. Their mysteries are manifold: origins, trajectories, compositions, and the subtle stories of survival and change they carry. And so, as we trace these fragments scattered across Antarctica's frozen plains, questions abound. How many meteorites lie hidden beneath the ice, preserved but unseen? What stories do they hold about our solar system, our planet, and the emergence of life itself? Could some contain evidence of phenomena we have yet to imagine? In Antarctica, the past, the present, and the cosmos converge, leaving us with mysteries as profound and enduring as the ice itself, waiting for the curious to uncover them. From the remnants of distant worlds scattered across Antarctica's icy expanse, our gaze now shifts from the cosmic to the terrestrial, to the silent testimony of life that once flourished on this frozen continent. Among the most astonishing discoveries are fossils of giant prehistoric penguins, creatures that challenge our perception of both the Antarctic ecosystem and the evolutionary history of birds. These fossils, embedded in rock and sediment that predate human history, reveal a time when
Antarctica was not the barren, icebound land we know today,
but a place teeming with life, forests, and temperate seas. The first fossilized remains of these colossal penguins were uncovered along the Antarctic peninsula and nearby islands, preserved in sedimentary rock dating back roughly 37 million years. Some species, such as Paludiptis kokoski, stood nearly 2 meters tall, dwarfing modern penguins, and weighed several times as much. Imagining these birds navigating the ancient coastline evokes a world of strange contrasts. The elegance of flightless birds with bodies built for swimming, thriving in an Antarctic far warmer than today, hunting fish and squid beneath the ocean's surface while massive forests once shaded the shorelines. Paleontologists studying these fossils have pieced together remarkable insights. The structure of their bones suggests they were powerful swimmers using flipper-like wings to propel themselves with extraordinary force through cold waters. Yet many questions linger.
How did such enormous birds adapt to environmental pressures?
Were they apex predators of their underwater realms, or part of a complex food web now lost to time? And most intriguingly, how did Antarctica's shifting climate influence their rise and eventual disappearance? The fossil record in Antarctica is fragmentary but compelling. Entire skeletons are rare. Often only partial bones or isolated flippers are found. Yet even these fragments hint at species diversity greater than initially imagined. Multiple genera of giant penguins coexisted in different regions, suggesting that Antarctica's prehistoric seas were rich and varied enough to support large, flightless birds of extraordinary size. Could these environments have harbored other unknown, similarly oversized species? Creatures whose remains remain hidden beneath layers of ice and rock, waiting for discovery. What makes these findings particularly mysterious is the context of Antarctica's dramatic transformation. During the Eocene epoch, the continent was largely ice-free with temperate climates and abundant marine life. Fossils indicate not only the presence of giant penguins, but also an array of marine mammals, fish, and invertebrates, painting a picture of a thriving ecosystem. Yet over the next several million years, tectonic shifts, ocean current changes, and global cooling led to glaciation, dramatically altering the landscape. How did these changes influence the evolutionary trajectory of such remarkable birds? And could similar species have migrated or survived elsewhere, only to vanish without a trace? Some speculative theories extend further. The sheer size and power of these penguins, combined with their ability to dive and navigate Antarctic waters, suggest they may have been among the last large non-flying birds capable of dominating marine environments in the region. Could some fossils remain buried beneath ice, unreachable for centuries, preserving evidence of species that challenge our assumptions about size limits, behavior, and adaptation in extreme environments? These possibilities, though speculative, underscore the depth of what remains unknown about Antarctica's prehistoric life. Historical context adds additional layers of intrigue. Early expeditions to Antarctica often stumbled upon fossilized bones while charting coasts and islands. Yet, the significance of these discoveries was sometimes overlooked or misclassified. It was only in the latter half of the 20th century that dedicated paleontological surveys revealed the astonishing scale of these birds. Modern techniques such as radiometric dating and comparative anatomy allow scientists to reconstruct not only the size and shape of these penguins, but also the ecosystems in which they lived. Yet, every discovery seems to raise new questions. What prey sustained such massive creatures? How did competition, predation, or disease shape their populations? The story of giant prehistoric penguins also resonates with broader questions about Antarctica's hidden past. Fossils offer tangible evidence that the continent was once a dynamic, life-sustaining environment capable of supporting species far larger than today's fauna. Could further excavation reveal other unknown megapods?
And what might these discoveries tell us about evolutionary resilience in extreme climates?
Lessons that could even inform our understanding of life on other planets where cold and isolation dominate. In contemplating these giant birds, one cannot ignore the paradoxes they embody. Flightless yet agile in water, enormous yet elegant, long extinct yet vividly present in the fossil record. They serve as a reminder that Antarctica is a continent of contrasts.
Ancient and modern, icebound and teeming with life, visible and hidden. There remains whisper stories of survival,
adaptation and transformation over millions of years, stories preserved beneath layers of rock and ice that have resisted the passage of time. And so as we consider the fossils of these colossal penguins, questions abound. What other prehistoric life lies concealed beneath the ice? How did Antarctica transition from a temperate haven to a frozen desert? And what role did these creatures play in the ecosystems that vanished with the glaciation? Could some secrets of the continent's lost world remain buried, awaiting discovery, holding clues that may forever change our understanding of life? Beneath the endless veil of ice, where howling winds carve across a land untouched by time, lies a continent shrouded in secrets. Antarctica, a place so remote, so hostile, that humanity has barely begun to scratch the surface of its mysteries. Here, beneath miles of frozen silence, entire landscapes remain hidden from view. Vast mountain ranges buried in ice, ancient lakes sealed away for millions of years, and strange anomalies that defy explanation. Why do satellite images sometimes reveal shapes and shadows that shouldn't exist? What unknown forces sculpt patterns in the ice, patterns that seem too deliberate to be natural? And why, in a land thought to be barren and lifeless, have scientists uncovered hints of ecosystems thriving in places sunlight has never touched? This is more than just a story of science. It's a journey into the last great frontier of Earth, a place where the boundary between reality and the unknown grows thin. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the mysteries of Antarctica, where every answer only leads to deeper questions. In the remote expanse of East Antarctica, where ice stretches endlessly in every direction, and the horizon melts into a white, unbroken sky, lies a region both desolate and profoundly enigmatic. Wilkes Land, a vast sector of the frozen continent, appears at first glance as nothing more than an ocean of snow and ice. Yet beneath its frozen surface, hidden from sight and shielded by kilometers of solid ice, lies a secret, a vast magnetic anomaly whose origin has puzzled scientists for decades. The Wilkes Land magnetic anomaly was first hinted at through satellite surveys and airborne magnetometry, technologies that allow researchers to detect irregularities in the Earth's magnetic field. Here, in a remote section of the continent, these readings revealed a disturbance unlike any seen elsewhere, a colossal mass buried beneath the ice, dense enough to bend the planet's magnetic field itself. The anomaly spans roughly 250 km in diameter, roughly the size of a small nation. Its presence is unmistakable, yet its cause remains elusive. Mainstream scientists have proposed several explanations. Some suggest that the anomaly marks the remains of an ancient meteorite impact, one so massive that it left a scar deep within the bedrock beneath the ice. This idea is supported by the circular shape of the anomaly and gravitational data suggesting a depression consistent with a crater. If true, the impact could have occurred hundreds of millions of years ago, perhaps even during the late Paleozoic, long before humans walked the Earth. Such an event would have had profound consequences for the planet's climate and life at the time, a silent cataclysm buried and preserved beneath layers of ice. Yet, the story does not end there. Other researchers argue that the anomaly could be a product of unusual geological formations, perhaps a massive concentration of dense rock or iron-rich minerals naturally distorting the magnetic field. Antarctica, after all, is a continent shaped by violent tectonic forces with a history of supercontinents forming and breaking apart. Deep beneath the ice, the bedrock preserves these ancient movements, a palimpsest of Earth's primordial past. The anomaly could simply be a geological quirk, a relic of a time before Antarctica became the frozen wasteland we know today. And yet, despite these plausible explanations, the Wilkes Land magnetic anomaly continues to provoke speculation. Some scientists have noted its proximity to regions where massive extinctions and dramatic climate shifts occurred in Earth's distant past. Could this anomaly be connected to a cataclysm that reshaped life on the planet? Others have ventured more speculative ideas that perhaps it is the remnant of a lost continent or evidence of structures buried beneath the ice from a time long before recorded history. While such notions stray beyond conventional science, they underscore the profound mystery of a feature that we can detect but cannot yet see. The very location of the anomaly adds to its intrigue. Wilkes Land is inhospitable, virtually untouched by human exploration, its surface dominated by a landscape of shifting ice and hidden subglacial lakes. Access is limited to the most determined of researchers, and direct sampling of the rock beneath is a monumental challenge. Remote sensing and satellite data are our only windows into this hidden world. Through these glimpses, scientists can observe the contours and strength of the magnetic signal, but the full story remains frustratingly out of reach, tantalizingly invisible beneath the frozen crust.
Adding another layer to the mystery is the timing of the anomaly's discovery.
It was identified in the late 20th century at a moment when Antarctic research was beginning to reveal the continent not as a static,
lifeless expanse, but as a dynamic environment with ancient secrets buried beneath the ice. Since then,
advancements in technology have allowed for increasingly precise mapping of the subglacial topography. Yet the Wilkes Land magnetic anomaly has consistently resisted full explanation. Its size, depth, and the strength of its magnetic signature make it unique, even among other unusual features found in Antarctica. Some have wondered whether the anomaly might be connected to extraterrestrial events. A meteorite impact of the scale suggested by some studies would have been of cosmic proportions, leaving traces that extend beyond the immediate crater. Could this have been part of a larger chain of impacts, an event that reshaped Earth's surface and magnetic history? While this hypothesis remains speculative, it highlights the scale and the mystery of the forces at play. Forces that lie beyond our direct observation, yet continue to influence the planet in subtle, measurable ways. Then there are the whispers of even deeper enigmas. The anomaly lies beneath one of the coldest and most isolated regions on the planet, where temperatures plunge far below freezing and the ice moves slowly over the land. Some have speculated about the possibility of unknown structures or landscapes preserved beneath the ice, ancient, inaccessible, frozen in time. Could the Wilkes Land magnetic anomaly be a marker, a clue pointing to something extraordinary hidden in a place where humanity has yet to tread? Or is it simply a natural oddity, a product of the Earth's immense and complex geological history? What makes the anomaly most compelling is precisely what we cannot know. Despite decades of satellite surveys, magnetic readings and modeling, the true nature of this massive underground feature remains elusive. It challenges our understanding of the continent, of Earth's magnetic field, and of the ancient forces that have shaped the planet. It invites questions rather than answers, and in that uncertainty lies its fascination.
As we stand at the edge of human knowledge, gazing into the frozen depths of Wilkes Land,
we are reminded that Antarctica still guards its secrets jealously. There is a story locked beneath the ice, one that may forever elude direct observation, yet continues to whisper through the magnetic signals we can measure. The Wilkes Land magnetic anomaly is more than a scientific curiosity. It is a riddle written into the Earth itself. A reminder that even in an age of satellites and sensors, some mysteries remain untamed. And so we ask, what lies beneath those kilometers of ice in a place no human has ever walked? What events, natural or otherwise, carved this anomaly into the heart of Antarctica? The answers remain beyond our reach for now, but the quest to understand it continues, and every new discovery brings us closer to unraveling one of the planet's most compelling enigmas. As we leave the enigmatic depths of Wilkes Land behind, our journey moves to another Antarctic wonder, a place where life persists against unimaginable odds, hidden beneath an unbroken expanse of ice. Lake Vostok lies beneath nearly 4 kilometers of frozen Antarctic crust, a colossal body of water larger than Lake Ontario, yet sealed off from the surface for millions of years. From above, the continent is a barren white wasteland, but beneath this frozen exterior, a hidden ecosystem thrives in eternal darkness, isolated from the world as we know it. The lake was first revealed not through direct exploration, but through satellites and radar surveys that measured the thickness of ice and the reflections of the hidden liquid below. In the late 20th century, Russian scientists drilling at Vostok Station confirmed its presence, a subglacial lake spanning over 250 kilometers in length and nearly 50 kilometers across at its widest point. Its surface lies under more than 3,700 meters of ice. Yet, the water remains liquid, kept from freezing by geothermal heat and the immense pressure of the ice above. It is a world entirely cut off, an isolated ocean in the heart of a frozen desert. Scientific interest in Lake Vostok extends far beyond its size. The lake represents a time capsule, a body of water untouched by atmospheric influence for an estimated 15 million years. Within its depths, microorganisms may have evolved independently, forming ecosystems unlike any on the surface. Early DNA studies from ice cores extracted above the lake have already revealed traces of microbial life, including bacteria that thrive in extreme cold and total darkness. These findings challenge long-held assumptions about the resilience and adaptability of life, suggesting that even in the harshest environments, nature finds a way to endure. Yet Lake Vostok is more than a scientific curiosity. It is a site of mystery and speculation. Some researchers propose that its dark, pressurized waters may harbor entirely unknown forms of life. Organisms adapted to a world without sunlight, photosynthesis, or seasonal change. Could ancient microorganisms have survived from a period long before the last ice age, preserved in isolation for millions
of years? And if so, what can these life forms tell us about evolution under conditions we scarcely understand?
The lake also raises questions about Earth's geological history. Its existence is a product of both tectonic activity and the continent's glacial evolution. The surrounding ice shelves and mountains shape its waters and currents, while geothermal heat seeps upward from deep within the crust, maintaining the delicate balance that keeps it liquid. Yet, there remain anomalies that do not fully fit within our understanding. Satellite radar images reveal complex patterns on the lake surface, shapes and ridges that suggest interactions with the bedrock below. Could these indicate underwater currents, hydrothermal vents, or even unusual geological formations yet to be discovered? Some have speculated that Lake Vito could serve as a model for extraterrestrial environments. Its dark, isolated waters are reminiscent of what scientists imagine beneath the icy crusts of moons such as Europa or Enceladus. If life can exist here, shielded from sunlight and exposed only to geothermal energy, then perhaps life could exist elsewhere in the solar system under similar conditions. While these comparisons remain speculative, they underscore the profound implications of Lake Vostok, not just for Antarctic biology, but for our understanding of life's potential across the cosmos. But not all is known or even fully explored. Direct access to the lake has been limited largely to prevent contamination of its pristine environment. Drilling projects have reached its upper layers, yet the full depth of the lake remains largely unexplored. Instruments have measured temperature, salinity, and some chemical composition. But the true extent of its biodiversity is still hidden beneath the ice. It is a world awaiting discovery, and every sample brought to the surface is a rare window into a vast, untouched ecosystem. There are also hints of the lake's broader connections within Antarctica. Subglacial channels suggest that Vasto may be linked to other hidden lakes and rivers beneath the ice, forming a network of isolated aquatic systems. If so, these connections could provide pathways for microorganisms to disperse, creating ecosystems that are both isolated and subtly interconnected. A fragile web of life thriving in near-complete darkness. The more scientists study, the more questions emerge. How do these organisms obtain energy? How have they adapted to survive pressures and temperatures far beyond what most life on Earth can endure? And what other secrets lie in wait beneath the kilometers of ice? Historical context adds another layer of intrigue. Antarctica has long been a symbol of the unknown, a continent discovered only in the 19th century and still largely uninhabited except for scientific research stations. Yet beneath its frozen exterior lie relics of a much older world. Ecosystems preserved from times before humans walked the Earth, untouched by climate shifts or surface events for millions of years. Lake Vasto is not merely a hidden lake, it is a portal to an ancient, isolated biosphere, frozen in time yet teeming with life in ways that continue to surprise researchers. As we contemplate the lake's hidden depths, it is impossible not to feel a sense of awe. Here is a place where the ordinary rules of environment and survival are challenged, where life persists without sunlight, where the past and present converge in a liquid world hidden beneath kilometers of ice. It reminds us that Antarctica is not simply a frozen wasteland, but a living laboratory of mystery and wonder, a place where the limits of life and human knowledge are tested. So, as we peer into the depths of Lake Vostok, we are left with more questions than answers. What forms of life inhabit these dark waters? How long have they existed? And how might they continue to evolve in isolation? And what other secrets does this frozen continent still hold, buried beneath ice that has not melted for millions of years? The answers remain elusive, but the intrigue endures, inviting us to imagine a world as alien and wondrous as any beyond our planet. A world hidden, waiting, and profoundly alive beneath the ice. From the hidden depths of Lake Vostok, our journey continues across the frigid expanse of Antarctica, descending from subglacial lakes to a place where the icy continent bleeds. Bloodfalls, located in the remote McMurdo dry valleys of East Antarctica, presents one of the most striking and mysterious spectacles on Earth. At first glance, it appears as a stark contrast against the pale glacial backdrop, a stream of deep crimson water seeping from the face of Taylor Glacier, cascading into the valley below. The vivid red against the frozen white is both beautiful and unsettling, a natural phenomenon that has puzzled explorers and scientists since its discovery in the early 20th century. The falls were first noted by the British Antarctic expedition of 1911, led by Captain Robert Falcon Scott. Early observers were struck by the intensity of the colour,
a stark anomaly in a landscape defined by shades of white,
grey and blue. For decades, the origin of this blood-red water remained unexplained. Was it a sign of life or something more sinister hidden within the ice?
Only with modern scientific techniques did the true, yet equally mysterious explanation begin to emerge.
Research has shown that the red coloration comes from iron-rich brine trapped within the glacier. As the water emerges from cracks in the ice and is exposed to the oxygen in the atmosphere, the iron oxidizes, producing the deep red hue reminiscent of flowing blood. On the surface, the phenomenon appears straightforward, a chemical reaction made visible. Yet even this simple explanation opens the door to deeper questions about the hidden processes beneath the glacier. How did such a concentrated iron-rich pool of brine come to exist in one of the most inhospitable regions on Earth? Blood Falls is fed by a subglacial reservoir isolated from the surface for perhaps millions of years, much like Lake Vostok. In this dark, pressurized environment, microbes have been discovered thriving without sunlight, feeding on iron and sulfur compounds in a world of extreme cold and high salinity. This realization has profound implications, challenging our understanding of the limits of life on Earth. Here, life persists in complete darkness, shielded by ice, sustained by chemical energy alone, a stark reminder that the surface world is only a small fraction of the ecosystems our planet harbors. The fall's slow but persistent flow is another layer of intrigue. Unlike a typical waterfall, Blood Falls does not surge or roar. It oozes steadily, sometimes forming rivulets that stain the surrounding ice for kilometers. Its constancy raises questions about the stability and size of the subglacial reservoir feeding it.
How large is this hidden aquifer?
How long has it persisted beneath the glacier? Could it connect to other subglacial systems, forming a network of liquid ecosystems beneath the frozen continent? Each observation adds to the mystery, revealing an intricate hidden hydrology that remains largely unexplored. Beyond its chemical and biological explanations, Blood Falls invites speculation about Antarctica's deep past. Some researchers have wondered if this iron-rich water could be a remnant of ancient oceans trapped by advancing ice sheets preserved under extreme pressure and temperature. Could the microbes living here be descendants of life that existed before the continent became a frozen wasteland, adapted over millennia to survive in isolation? And what might these organisms tell us about resilience, evolution, and the possibilities of life beyond Earth? The phenomenon also raises subtle geological questions. The iron-rich brine that colors Blood Falls originates from rocks beneath the glacier, slowly leaching minerals over millions of years. This process has created an isolated chemical laboratory where unique microbial communities interact with mineral-rich waters under conditions that are impossible to replicate on the surface. Such environments blur the line between chemistry and biology, where life and geology are intimately intertwined in ways that continue to challenge scientific models.
Even with modern study, Blood Falls retains elements that are unresolved.
Satellite imagery and ground surveys have mapped the glacier and the general flow of brine. Yet the exact mechanisms controlling the movement and renewal of this iron-rich water remain uncertain. Does the reservoir fluctuate over centuries? Are there seasonal changes imperceptible to short-term observation? And might there be other hidden veins of similar brine silently flowing beneath glaciers across the continent, unnoticed until a curious observer or advanced technology uncovers them? The visual impact of Blood Falls cannot be overstated. Against a backdrop of ice and rock, The crimson streaks seem almost deliberate, as if the continent itself were leaving a mark, an enigmatic signature in the frozen wilderness. Explorers and scientists alike have commented on the sense of alienness that the phenomenon evokes. It is a reminder that Antarctica is not merely a barren wasteland, but a living, dynamic system with secrets preserved under ice that has resisted the touch of sunlight and wind for millions of years. And yet, even as we understand more about the chemical and microbial processes at play, Bloodfalls continues to fascinate. Its combination of beauty, strangeness, and resilience creates a sense of wonder, drawing our attention to the subtle, often invisible forces shaping life beneath the ice. It prompts reflection on the resilience of life and the hidden ecosystems that operate far from human observation, challenging our perception of what is possible in extreme environments. As we look upon the falls today, flowing quietly in the shadow of Taylor Glacier, the questions linger.